welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I am joined by the one, the only, timeless Matt Turner. Mr. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, friends and family of the Stardom Cast and the Stardom Cast Army. You know me, brother. I'm doing fantastic. However, you know that I like to have some listener retention. You know, I like to leave a little bit of a cliffhanger. And I've been saving this one for a while. It's a little bit of a cliffhanger, not only for the listeners of the show, but for you, Rob Goodwin.
Oh, intriguing.
As you know, yes, in about a week or so, or in a week, I will be leaving for my annual trip to New York for New York Comic-Con. And me and one Andy Header, I guess the official third member of the show, we have something fun planned, not only for you, Rob Goodwin, but for the listeners of this show. So you're going to have to wait about 7 or 8 days for when Andy Header has a little something that he is pulling off. And then I said, hey, if you're doing this, why don't we do this and this? And he's like, absolutely. Should we tell Rob? I'm like, absolutely not. We have to kayfabe Rob. I said, I will let him know literally live on the air, just a little bit of a cliffhanger the week before we leave. So being Andy Header, it's 80% Andy. And if you really were to brainstorm, you can probably figure out what he's doing. I'm just adding a little more zing onto it. But again, not only is it for you, Rob, it's for the fantastic listeners, the friends and family of the Stardom Cast. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited for my annual trip to New York City, but I am doing well. You sound like you're doing fantastic. How's everything over in your neck of the woods, good kind sir?
Yes, can't complain at all. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually looking forward to getting back to work tomorrow because I have been climbing the goddamn walls. But yes, I am. I'm feeling better. Still a bit tender, still a bit sore. Unfortunately, it does mean that I won't be able to go to Barcelona as part of a school trip. I just thought that probably wasn't the best thing to do with ribs that are still fractured, but at least I'm able to get out and about and do things. And of course, Matt, we have got some great wrestling to watch and to talk about as well. So, you know, what is there to complain about, eh? What could I possibly complain about?
Yeah, absolutely. You woke up on the right side of Earth. You have air in your lungs. You can watch any Mayu Itani match that you want. I always tell people that complain that are wrestling fans. I'm like, really? You literally can go on YouTube on your phone and type in Misawa versus Kawada and just sit there for days and enjoy great wrestling. Like, what are you complaining about?
It's a very good point. It is a very good point. If you are existing at the same time as the likes of Mayu Iwatani, as well, you know, the likes of Sari, it's impossible to be sad. I feel like, you know, it's a time to be happy, to feel alive, and again, we like to say that we are the positive podcast. We, as you say on the Patreon, we do things in a positive manner, and I feel like, you know what, at the moment with both Stardom and Marigold, I'm feeling positive, I'm feeling good. And obviously, we're on the countdown towards Las Vegas. And again, looking forward massively to everything that goes on there, the inevitable Marigold show, and maybe, just maybe, a Stardom show. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there would be a Stardom show. Oh, remind me, I think the week I come back from New York, I think the tickets go on sale for WrestleMania. So that the tickets will be in the back pocket, as they say, sooner than later, my friend. Yeah, we are ramping up. I guess the only thing we're waiting for is the dates of those Stardom and or Marigold shows. So this way we know what dates to be flying out. Obviously, I'll be flying out of Pennsylvania. You'll be flying out from England. So I believe the plan is to meet over there in City. So that should be fun. And again, I'm really, really looking forward to more shenanigans from the Stardom Cast, meaning me and you. But this time we do have our significant others to kind of wrangle us in. We're in Philadelphia. We had Paul and Chad. Hi, Chad. They not only did they not wrangle us in, they actually added fuel to the fire, and maybe the best way possible. I don't know. Nobody got arrested. So in my opinion, Philly Mania was a success, my brother.
Yeah, I still don't know how we didn't get arrested. It does feel like that's something that should have happened, especially when one of us was driving on the train tracks. But that's by the by.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, again, massively looking forward to it. Let's Today, we have got, obviously, our review of Nagoya Golden Fight. We've obviously got the review as well of the show from the 2nd of October, the Korakuen Naita show as well, which saw Hazuki and Starlight Kid begin an assault on each other that then bled over into the pay-per-view, quite literally. But we'll be talking about all of that very, very shortly. We've got a little bit of news coming out of Marigold because, of course, we recorded the Marigold Standard yesterday, and they announced their biggest Korakuen show to date immediately after we recorded. Like, I'm not even joking. It was about 10 minutes after we recorded, and it dropped, and I was like, oh, for God's sake. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about the 3 cards that Stardom have announced for next week because they're running Friday, Saturday, and Monday next week. And then, yeah, we'll talk, obviously, about those 2 shows. But before we do any of that, Mr. Matt Turner, before we delve into the goodness that came out of Nagoya, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up on the Patreon this week.
Yes, Patreon. Apologize, folks. As we always say, cards subject to change. And the alternate commentary was just a little bit late this week. Myself and Rob were kind of just juggling our schedules between the podcast and work and life and whatnot. So the alternate commentary didn't get up until a little bit later, which the alternate commentary this week is Jamie Hayter challenging one Momo Watanabe for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. That should be in your feed, hopefully by the time this drops, give or take a day or so. And then our alternate commentary for next week as we celebrate Gaika Kikuchin month. I think I got that one pretty good from practicing all day. We are going to be going back to the 5-star Grand Prix last year with 2 wrestlers that have been all over the place over here on American TV as Julia takes on one Mariah May. So those will be the alternate commentaries that'll be up in your feed in the next 7 or 8 days or so. And then I'm scheduled this week to record a tag team breakdown with my good friend, one Andy Heder. And the tag team match we're going to be breaking down, Mr. Rob Goodwin, is we're going to be going back to 2022, my favorite year in Stardom, as we're going to night 1 of World Climax's FWC. Hazuki and Kagama, they defend the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championships against Black Desire, Starlight Kid, and Momo Watanabe. And one of the reasons why I picked this match is you have a straight babyface tag team against a straight heel tag team. It's not, sometimes we do like the tweener stuff, like we've done Thunder Rock versus Mako Satomaro and Kyrie. Last month we did Miami versus FWC. So this is going to be nice that you have a babyface team that's over as baby faces, and then a heel team that is over as clear heels. So that's going to be nice for me and him to break down as we break down the certain psychology of how to work a heel versus babyface tag team. That and so much more coming up in the month of October for Gaika Kikuchin month, as Mayu Iwatani would say, good sir.
Oh, absolutely smashed it, mate. I do just want to give a big shout out to John Cowheel, who is our latest patron. Thank you so much for supporting us, and thank you to everyone who supports us, whether it is on Patreon or whether it's through the free feed, whether it's through comments, whether it's through ratings, whether it's through people who have left really nice reviews of my book, Steve Cachlamanos. I haven't had a chance to email you back yet. I promise I have read your email. It means a lot to me. So thank you very, very much. It means a lot, all of the support. It means that we can carry on doing this amazing job and this amazing podcast, which we love doing. Let's talk then about Marigold, who announced a stacked Korakuen Hall show for the 24th of October. All 4 titles will be on the line. And Matt, we were talking yesterday when we recorded and released the Marigold Standard about how if they put all of the matches that they built to on this on the Korakuen Hall show we reviewed yesterday, if they put all of those onto one show, we have got a very, very, very tasty card. And indeed, that was the case. Announced for the 24th of October. It's a Thursday, 6:30 p.m. We have got these matches. So we've got Myla Grayson Chiaki versus Kimomo Minami and Minami Yuki. Naho Yamada makes her Marigold debut against her former Teppen teammate Misa Matsui. It's Twin Tower versus Twin Tower. Utami Hayashishita and Koki Amare against Chika Goto and Rhea Saito. A passion injection match 2, Electric Boogaloo, Nanae Takahashi taking on Nao Ishikawa, and then, as I mentioned, 4 title matches. The Marigold Twin Star Championships on the line. Mirai and Mai Sakurai looking to make their 3rd successful title defense against the team of Victoria Yuzuki and Kazuna Tanaka. The Superfly Championship, Natsumi Shozuki, the champion, taking on the debuting Hummingbird. The United National Championship on the line as well, and what will be the semi-main event. The champion, Miko Aono, taking on the challenger, Nagisa Nozaki. And then in your main event, for the first time ever, the Marigold World Championship will be defended. Sari taking on Bozilla. Matt Turner, what an absolutely mammoth card this is. I am filled with excitement for this card. The 4 title matches alone are great, but then you factor in that passion injection match, Nanae Takahashi and Nao Ishikawa. You know that is going to be really, really good. I'm really excited to see what Naho Yamada is going to be like, and also this Twin Towers Collide tag team match. I'm really interested to see what path Marigold go down with this. What about you? What are you excited for?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we made mention of this just a handful of hours ago as we recorded. And you're absolutely right. I think I ate dinner right afterwards, and then I checked Twitter, and I was like, of course. Like, yeah. I wasn't even mad. It's literally at a point that after we record, if no news is broken in 3 or 4 hours, that's what upsets me now. It's not anymore.
I refresh Twitter because I'm convinced Twitter is broken. That's where we are at this point now.
It happens all the time, but it's so funny. I was like, well, again, the good thing, the fact that we have 2 different podcasts with the Marigold Standard and the Stardom Cast is if we miss one set of news, we can always catch it on the other podcast. So this is what's happening. However, I would not be shocked in 4 or 5 hours there's some massive news. Like maybe Will Ospreay is going to be taking part in a store crossover, tagging with Azumi, or on the other opposite side of Azumi, and then like Shuri versus Katsuyori Shibata. That'll probably be announced tonight. But anywho, getting back to the question. Yeah, this is. Not only is this a super stack card for Korakuen Hall, which again, this is really where Korakuen Hall is where Rasi Ogawa really planted the seeds and done so many super shows for Stardom, when he started that promotion some 14 years ago, and up until when he left the company earlier this year. So Korakuen Hall is kind of his, unofficial, official home. And the fact that he's stacking these Korakuen Hall shows, we saw how great those 2 Dreamstar tag league are, those Dreamstar league shows were in Korakuen Hall. Obviously, the very first Marigold show happened in Korakuen Hall, and Julia's farewell show in Korakuen Hall. But what the Korakuen Hall show that we just reviewed on the Marigold Standard, what it did is it set up this mammoth show we have at the end of the month, with the passion ejection match, with some of the stuff they're doing with the Tokyo Towers. And now we have our first red belt match, championship match. We have a pure white belt challenge, and then we have the super flyweight championship. So there's a lot of great stuff that they built up in Korakuen Hall that they're paying off in Korakuen Hall, which again makes sense. It's really an easy booking decision and an easy story to tell, saying this is where we're setting up these big matches and these big storylines. Let's pay them off in the same building within the same month, again, because you're trying to increase ticket sales. My guess would be this is probably, and we talked about this again just yesterday when we recorded the Marigold Standard, what this is going to draw. We both kind of figured it's somewhere between the high 800s to 900s, which is a big increase compared to the 600 and 700s that they've been doing, which if that is the case, then you can see that Rossi's booking here paid off. He did a great job really building up these matches and then stacking these cards. But yeah, this the Tokyo Towers thing is going to be really, really interesting, because I just don't think, the way you look at it, it's like, are they on? Is this the cracks in them? Like, is this going to be the breakup? Which I don't think that's the way that they should go, or they will go. Maybe, and again, we mentioned Utami is going to be doing probably some interesting things as she's building herself up for that big main event match against probably Sari come the 3rd of January as she cashes in on winning the Dream Star. My guess is, and I think the cool thing would be, is maybe they have a little bit of riff during the match and after the match, and then maybe you have Utami kind of mentoring the two of them, where we see in the next couple of months a bunch of 6-person tag matches with Utami, Koki Amare, and Chikagoto maybe taking on the big heel team of Nagisa Nozaki, Bozil, and Chiaka. That would be something really interesting. But yeah, it's interesting to see where they go with that. And considering the fact that that's only like the second or third match. And then you have the Passion Injection match, which they set up so perfectly at the last Korakuen show. And then, yes, we have the Super Flyweight Championship, the tag belts with Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki, who are on an absolute tear as of late. I'm such a huge fan of them teaming up. I think they work so well together, and they're challenging just an absolute fantastic team, and Mirai and Mai Sakurai. And then you have that big 1-2 punch of the white belt and red belt main event, your main event and your co-main event in Korakuen Hall. And we mention it all the time when Stardom runs Korakuen Hall, that you kind of have to give Korakuen Hall something big. And Stardom has done a really good job over these last handful of shows of giving Korakuen Hall something special, but we've never seen the two main championships defended in Korakuen Hall in quite some time in Stardom. Where here Marigold, not only are we getting one, but we're getting both. So kudos to Marigold and Rossi for, again, planting the seeds on last week's show. And then we're going to see everything here play out at the end of the month of October. I'm super, super excited for it. And I hope that they draw a really, really good number, because the talent roster and the production team is really ace over there at Marigold.
Yeah, and it's only getting bigger, obviously, with the trainees that are coming in. I know that I think it's Sari Yamaoka, the 17-year-old, that they are very, very excited for over in Marigold. She debuts at First Dream. Obviously, you got Naho Yamada that is debuting on this show. Obviously, you put into the fact that you got Kamomo Minami Yuki, Ria Sato, all who have come in since the start of the company. Kazuna Tanaka is another one as well. This talent pool is only going to grow. And I was thinking yesterday, after we'd finished the Marigold Standard, because those who haven't listened to it, me and Matt almost came to blows in an argument. It's the most vicious argument.
It wasn't that bad. Rat's trying to get downloads. It wasn't that bad. Go ahead, brother.
It was the most vicious argument in podcasting history. No, we were talking about what we think the result should be of the Passion Injection match. And obviously, we're talking about Sari and Utami Hayashishita, which we think that red belt match, Sari and Utami, is going to be the big draw for First Stream. However, I do think that obviously we've got 2 months between this and First Stream. I think there's enough room for another challenge in between this match with Bozilla and then Utami's match at First Stream, which I think we all assume that Utami is going to win. Why not have Nanae beat Naoshikawa and then come out at the end of this show and challenge Sari for the red belt? We all know that that's what they were teasing in the Dream Star. Obviously, there was no definitive winner with the match going to a time limit draw. We thought for a while that was what it was going to be. We thought that was actually going to be the first challenge with Bozilla second, but they've gone with Bozilla first. I think Nanae will challenge at the end of this show. If that was the case, Matt, obviously they've got Korakuen's books through November and through December as well. I believe they've got a Korakuen Hall on Boxing Day, the 26th of December. So you've got a lot of chances to run another title defense. Do you think that's what they will do before First Stream, or do you think it's a one and done?
Oh, you made a good point. And again, if you have not listened to the Marigold Standard, my idea was now Ishikawa needs to win this match, because she's white hot. Like, she hasn't had a pinfall in America. Again, she's won tag matches, but she hasn't won a match actually herself. And I mentioned because the crowd in Korakuen is so ready for her to get the big win that if you wait any longer, you're taking off the steam. But you did not make mention of that when we recorded yesterday. Now you make a really, really good point, because that Sari versus Nanae Takahashi was, in my opinion, and I believe yours as well, the best match of that fantastic Dream Star tournament. So the fact that it went to the old TLD, if you run that one back, especially in Korakuen Hall, and I believe the championship matches are a 30-minute time limit, where in the Dream Star, it was a 15-minute time limit. So now you have 15 extra minutes to play with. Yeah, you know what, buddy? You got a really, really good point. And now I'm a little bit more on board with your idea of Nanae defeating now Ishikawa, especially if she's going to be challenging for that red belt, and then you're just going to rematch that again, the match of the tournament, one of the best matches all year in all of wrestling, Nanae Takahashi versus Sari. So very, very good point, my man. So good job. As always, I try to keep an open mind. I made my opinion why I think now needs to win, but this is you make a really, really good point as we're building Nanae up to wrestle Sari, which I think me, you, and everybody else will agree that, one, if they do that, it's a great match, but two, Sari's got to get the win, as you need to continue to keep building Sari up, even though she's the red belt champion, and keep building Utami up. Thus, these two will look like two on basically the irresistible force meets the immovable object, as there's my Gorilla Monsoon reference of the week, building those two up as we go to First Stream on the 3rd of January. So really good job, my man, because I think you just swayed my opinion on the results of that match.
I wish you'd
argument over, buddy.
I wish you'd have been so receptive yesterday, Matt, when you made me cry live on air.
How dare you?
Just quickly, we did talk about in the news segment about Sai Kamatani and Mina Shirakawa. They are both wrestling outside of Stardom. Just want to quickly revisit that. Mina Shirakawa will be taking on Lizzie Evo at Global Wars UK at the Doncaster Dome, 19th of October, for the undisputed British Women's Championship. And Sai Kamatani will be cashing in her Catch the Wave victory, wrestling for the Regina the Wave Championship. That's going to be at Pro Wrestling Wave's Korakuen Hall show on the 4th of November, and that's going to be against Yuki Miyazaki. So that should be really good as well. Again, we talked about it yesterday, Matt. Hopefully those matches will make their way onto on Stardom World, especially the Pro Wrestling Wave one, with the tournament having gone up in parts as well. But I'm glad you brought up Will Ospreay, which is my little segue, because obviously Historic Crossover 2 has already been announced, and during the pay-per-view, we had a couple of bits of advertising for it, including having our first match confirmed for Historic Crossover 2, November 17th, from the Edion Arena, Osaka. There will be English commentary, presumably provided by Walker Stewart and Tom Fair. I know Walker's definitely going to be there. I think they said Tom might be there as well. We will be talking about those two and the great job they did for Nagoya Golden Fight very shortly. But the first match announced sees the G1 Climax 34 winner and potentially the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, if his match against Tetsuya Naito goes well in Ryogoku on the 14th, Zack Sabre Jr., teaming with the 5-star Grand Prix winner Micah against Starlight Kid and El Desperado. Now, when this was announced, I was like, oh my God, just the 4 names in that ring. It's going to be fantastic. El Desperado has been out with an injury. This is his return match. Obviously, him and Starlight Kid have history. They teamed together during the last Historic Crossover show. If you remember Historic Crossover 1, Micah decided to go all medieval on Hiroshi Tanahashi, which was hilarious. But also, I didn't realize that Micah had actually trained under El Desperado. So there's a connection there as well. And I know that she's done an interview with Tokyo Sports about how honored she is. She wants a singles match with Despy, but this tag match is a huge, huge responsibility. She also said that Despy's a lot lighter than Tanahashi, so I imagine he will go absolutely flying. This match, Matt, alone is going to be an absolute barn burner, isn't it?
Yeah, not only that, but I think that Mike is stronger now than she was 2 years ago, which is saying something. We've been seeing her suplex people with more intensity the last 2 years. So,
I mean, she did a top rope Michinoku driver on Megan Bain. So I'd argue that, yeah, that's a good shout, mate.
Yeah, in the ECW arena, which we were there for. But I liked how, again, not only is this match going to be terrific, but I liked how they set up the package on the pay-per-view from Nagoya, where they literally had, here's your winner of the big tournament for New Japan, and here's your tournament winner for the big tournament in Stardom on the video package back-to-back. Oh, by the way, this historic crossover, these two wrestlers are going to be teaming up. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I didn't even care who they're wrestling. It's like, oh, El Desperado, he's terrific. Starlight Kid, we love her. So a great way to start building up matches for this show. Obviously we were all having dreams of who else is going to be teaming up. We saw some really really good fun matches 2 years ago with historic crossover, some really interesting things, and you kind of wonder again. Will Ospreay, Katsuyori Shibata, even though they're not contracted wrestlers anymore to New Japan, they do work for AEW, and AEW does have that working relationship with New Japan. And again, maybe it's just wishful thinking, because I would love to see Will Ospreay and Azumi either team up or on opposite ends, because Will Ospreay has been very, very vocal about how much he loves the Stardom wrestlers, especially one Azumi. And maybe it's just my dream, but I would love to see something with Shibata, Shuri, and Momo Watanabe, maybe some Saida. Again, maybe that's just my wishful thinking, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what other matches are going to be on this card. It's going to be a really, really fun one. And yeah, I know that Walker Stewart is doing the commentary. I believe it's like a rotating door with Walker, Tom, and Chris Charlton. I think that's kind of the way that that I see it. I could be wrong, but we'll find out in the upcoming weeks as we're getting ready for Historic Crossover 2, Electric Boogaloo. Rob, my question to you is, Historic Crossover 1 was a great show, but they had that one big main event for the IWGP to crown the first ever IWGP Women's Championship, and just a phenomenal match with Mayu versus Kairi. And then we also had Will Ospreay defending, I believe it was the New Japan United States title against, was it Ren Narita? Do you think we're going to have any?
Shota
Yeah, Shoto. That's right, Shota Umino. Do you think that we're going to have any straight up singles matches on the men's side or on the New Japan side or the Stardom side, basically to round out this card? We're going to have some championship defenses. Like, do you think the white belt will be defended? Do you think the red belt will be defended? Do you think the IWGP belt will be defended? And on the opposite end, do you think that any of the other singles championships will be defended on the New Japan side? I know Great O'Khan came out and said the King of Pro Wrestling, that's kind of a gimmick thing, which will be fun. But again, going off, how well they drew 2 years ago at Historic Crossover back in 2022, do you think that to flush out this card, we're going to just have some straight up New Japan matches and some straight up Stardom matches for some championships?
So, a lot to unpack there. I don't think we have any Stardom singles titles, save for the IWGP Women's Championship. I think they might have been holding off announcing that title match until after Mayu and Toni Storm. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an announcement soon that Mayu Iwatani and Azumi is on this show for the IWGP Women's Championship, because if you want an advert for Stardom, and we talked about this a little while ago, if you want an advert for Stardom, the IWGP Women's Championship final between Mayu and Kairi, one of the best matches of 2022. And, Chris Charlton said that, Kevin Kelly on commentary both said how good that match was. Mayu versus Azumi is the match to do that, the match to make people sit up and take notice. In terms of other singles matches, I don't know. I imagine we are going to see some sort of incarnation of Hate and Bullet Club War Dogs versus Cosmic Angels. Obviously, we saw Clark Connor's Spear Natsupoi, which we're going to talk about on our Korakuen review, and then that didn't lead anywhere in terms of Nagoya, so I'm assuming that there is going to be something at Historic Crossover 2, whether that is a straight-up tag, Tekla and Clark Connors versus Natsupoi and another, or whether we have, a 10-person tag where it's a mixture of Hate and Bullet Club War Dogs and Cosmic Angels and, maybe Chaos, maybe it's Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroki Goto, Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Toriano. I don't know. All in all, I don't think we'll get any singles titles, basically. In terms of New Japan, maybe. I know they had the US title on the line last time. That's no longer a thing. Obviously, it's the Global Heavyweight Championship at the moment, which I believe is still held by David Finlay. So, do you have Finlay defend it? This doesn't feel like a very David Finlay defending the Global Championship sort of show. I feel like he would be better in a tag match, with the likes of a Tekla, with the likes of a Natsuko Tora, sort of coordinating that villainous stable. I feel that could be the best use of him. I do really like David Finlay, by the way. I am a huge fan of David Finlay, so there's no David Finlay hate here. In terms of the King of Pro Wrestling title, I would love to see Koguma go for it because I genuinely think Great-O-Khan is hilarious. Koguma is hilarious. I would have said Zaki Kashima, but she hasn't been announced on any of these cards leading up. I don't know if she's going to be fit for this show. I don't know the extent of the injury either. But I think someone who is naturally very funny. It's a comedic title, as you've already said, the King of Pro Wrestling. It doesn't have to be, of course. We've seen belters of matches for it, especially when, Shingo Takagi held it. But I think if you're going to go that way, either go comedy and have Great-O-Khan versus Koguma, or if you're going to go violent, have Great-O-Khan versus Hazuki. Why the hell not?
Yeah. Yes. Go for it.
Absolutely. But yeah, in short, I would have Mayu Iwatani and Azumi for the IWGP Women's Championship. I'd have that main event. I'd have... there have been a lot of interactions between Mayu and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I wonder if this is the year they do that. No, I'm going to go title match. I think I'd love to see Liger come out of retirement to team with Mina Shirakawa because I know how much of a fan Mina Shirakawa is of Jushin Liger. I know it won't happen. I just think that'd be really nice. What about you? I feel like the only thing really that we've built towards here is the KOPW match with Great-O-Khan coming out, and obviously the match that we've already had announced. What would you have if you were given the book for Historic Crossover 2?
Well, obviously you have a lot of heat with the War Dogs and hate, right? You've already established that, and we'll get into the Tekla versus Natsupoi match a little bit later because I was like, oh, that could have been an opportunity for Clark Connors to do a run in there. But again, we'll get into it. So you have that there because obviously you have the Cosmic Angels, you have a lot of wrestlers there, and the Bullet Club War Dogs are pretty much feuding with anybody. So you can put in a litany of wrestlers to go there. I don't know, buddy. You had a great idea with Great-O-Khan versus Suzuki, but if you remember a couple months ago, Shingo Takagi showed up unannounced on a Stardom show to cut a promo, and I was like, and me and you were like, oh, they're totally building to Shingo versus Suzuki, right? Fingers crossed. I mean, that would be really interesting, whether they're on opposite ends or on the same team. Again, you have Sherry. I would love to see Shibata. I would love to see Will Ospreay again. I know they're contracted AEW wrestlers, but just because of, what I said before, Will Ospreay's just love for the Stardom wrestlers, I think that would be great. And Shibata, again, her and Sherry kind of have the same. They both former MMA fighters, both former shooters. I would love to see them either teaming or on opposite ends of a team. I know that Josh Barnett, I'm a huge fan of Josh Barnett. I know that he's training and teaching at the New Japan Dojo. I would love to see Josh Barnett involved in this one way or another. I like the idea with Mina and Liger because we know that Mina is a massive, massive fan of Jushin Thunder Liger, and Jushin Thunder Liger is apparently a big fan of Mina Shirakawa. Really, who isn't? But if he's not going to come out of retirement, maybe he comes down to the ring with her, or it's like seconds her. I think that'd be really, really cool. There's a lot of interesting things that you can do here, but regardless, I'm all for it. I like the fact that this hopefully is like a yearly thing because it's something like it's really, really cool. It's going to be like a low-key fun show. It's going to draw a lot of tickets. Again, I think you do Mayu and Azumi here. I think with Tam is going to be part of the of that match with the Bullet Club War Dogs because you want to team Tam and Natsupoi and Soriano and probably Yuna Mizumori. I wouldn't be shocked if that's like a 10-person or 12-person tag. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Like, where does Hiromu Takahashi, where does he fit into all this? There's going to be a lot of, again, Shingo Takagi. Where does Naito, some of the members of LIJ, Sonata. So there's a lot of moving parts here that you can team them up with anybody. Like Sanan and Mina Shirakawa, that'd be a fun team. But there's a lot of really, really fun stuff that they can go here. Again, my thing is I just hope there's a IWGP Women's Championship match because technically this is a New Japan show. And that belt hasn't been defended on a New Japan show since I think, in Japan, I think since February, since the New Beginning tour with Mina and Mayu. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to do it. And it'd be great because that this is going to draw anywhere between 6,000 to 7,000 people because I believe that's what it did 2 years ago, somewhere around 7,000. You're going to have a big, big house for this and to be a huge opportunity for everybody to see Mayu versus Zumi because we've seen that match a few times before over this past year and on a bigger stage with more time for the actual IWGP championship that it's going to be an absolute barn burner. So yeah, I'm all for whatever they give us because, again, It's a real fun show. Just fingers crossed. Hopefully we get an IWGP Women's Championship match on this show.
Yeah, 7,102 they drew at the last historic crossover. That was at Ariake Arena. Whether they reached that number from Edion Arena, I don't know. Obviously, the Seoul or Stardom's record for a Seoul produced show is 5,539, which they did at All-Star Grand Queendom 2023. Be interesting to see if they do get near that 7,000 mark here. And obviously, we'll have more of an idea as we get closer to the time and more matches are announced. I do think we might get some more announced, either during or immediately after King of Pro Wrestling, which is the 14th of October in Sumo Hall. So I imagine we'll see something there as well. In terms of matches being announced, Stardom have announced some of the matches coming out of this week. Sorry, I got hiccups. Really annoying. We have got, in terms of Friday, which is emanating from, speaking of Osaka, Edion Arena Osaka number 2. The card has been announced for that in full, and the matches are as follows. Tag team match, Peach Rock, Mayu Iwatani and Momokogo taking on the EXV team of Waka Tsukiyama and Hanako. We've got a 3-way that has Rian versus Ruaka versus Hanan. 6-woman tag, the God's Eye team of Syuri, Rani Yagami, and Lady C, taking on the Hate team of Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Saya Kamatani. We've then got another 6-woman tag, EXV team of Maika, Mina, and Xena, rhymes, against the Stars team of Hazuki, Koguma, and Saya Ida. And then in what is currently listed as your main event, we've got a big 10-woman tag team match between Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Saori Ano, Natsupoi, Yuna Mizumori, and Sayaka Kurora, taking on the Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid, Suzu Suzuki, Azumi, Meisera, and Miyu Amasaki. Matt, that main event is going to be fantastic. I do think that we get a white belt challenge there, an official white belt challenge there. I am very much looking forward to more Tam and Suzu Suzuki ferocity as well. I wonder if we get a future challenge as well. Spoilers, but also that 6-woman tag, Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Xena versus Saya Ida, Hazuki, and Koguma, has the ability to really, really, really steal the show, Matt.
Yeah, and again, I've been saying this for the past 2 months. We're getting so close to the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling, and this has the potential of being the best Goddess tournament ever, just because of how great the tag team division is in Stardom. With it looks like the opening match being Hanako and Waka versus Mayu and Momokogo, which I think that's going to be the opener because, again, we saw the last 5 or 6 months, Stardom always puts a hot match on first to get the crowd going, and they usually give that match away free on YouTube, which, again, is smart business strategy. So hopefully, fingers crossed, after that match that both teams announce that they are in for the Goddess of Stardom tournament, we've seen Mayu and Momokogo really, really gelling fantastic as a tag team. And they even made mention on a backstage promo that they may enter the Goddess of Stardom tournament. And then Hanako and Waka, they've been doing really, really great stuff as a tag team, especially Hanako since she's been back from her excursion to the U.S. So hopefully that's something we get. We get FWC teaming with Saida in a match. So that's going to be really, really fun. And again, interesting maybe that if that goes to a time limit draw or there's an actual winner where we see maybe Mike and Mina Shirakawa, they make mention that they're in the tournament, or Xena and Mike are any 2 of the 3. And then you have FWC saying, no, we're going to be in the tournament and we're going to be the first tag team to win the tournament, for a second time. That's a possibility where they go with there to kind of start building up for the Goddess tournament, because I believe it's starting just in 3 weeks time. So we got to get some teams announced. And then you're absolutely right. That 10-woman tag where it's Cosmic Angels versus Neo Genesis. There's so much great stuff that can happen there. You mentioned Tam and Suzu Violence, part 19. Absolutely. I'm all for that. I'm all for that, like, never-ending story between the 2 of them because, and again, we'll review it at the end of the show. Their red belt match was another instant classic that is in the history of the World of Stardom Championship. And then, yeah, you may have Starlight Kid officially challenging one Natsupoi for the Wonder of Stardom Championship match, sometime soon. There's a lot of different things that can happen in that match. Obviously, you have Soriano in there with One Azumi. That would be a match I would love to see them, run back sometime. A lot of really great moving parts on this show. Not a lot of matches. So this might be one of those 90-minute shows that's just absolutely loaded, where it's basically just quality over quantity. And I'm all for it, my friend. I believe these shows this weekend are all VODs, but I've noticed the last handful of VODs, they're all up within like 12 to 14 hours.
Yeah, they're all VOD. It wouldn't surprise me if they're all up within a day. The Stardom turnaround is fantastic at the moment, and that's for the shows that aren't live. When you consider that August we had an entire month of live shows, I don't really feel like we can complain that much. It is worth noting as well that after these 3 shows, we've got another New Blood as well coming up, New Blood 16. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get a future challenge from that match. Again, we'll talk about that very, very shortly. We move then to Saturday, the 12th of October, Stardom in Komatsu from the Ishikawa Suhiro Gymnasium in Komatsu City. The card is as follows. Singles match, Saori Anou versus Rana Yagami. 6-woman tag, Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, and Mei Seira of Neo Genesis taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Yuna Mizumori, Sayaka Kurora, and Aya Sakura. It's worth noting again, Miyu Amasaki and Sayaka Kurora in the same match. 3-way tag team match, FWC, Hazuki and Saya Ida, the E-Nexus V team, Waka Tsukiyama and Xena, and the Hate team of Saya Kamatani and Momo Watanabe. That could be an interesting tag league team.
Ooh.
Ooh. I know. So that's a 3-way tag battle. 8-woman tag match next. Stars, Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, Hanan, and Momokogo taking on the EXV team of Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Hanako, and Rian. Tag match next, Tam Nakano and Natsupoi Meltier taking on the God's Eye team of Syuri and Lady C, who they seem to be pairing together quite a lot lately. And then again, in what is classed currently as your main event, the Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki taking on Natsuko Tora and Ruaka. Matt, I know that you're excited for that 3-way tag. Momo Watanabe and Saya Kamatani in the tag league together. And I know that it's going to be full of hate shenanigans. We're going to be talking about that at length in the white belt match. But allow me to dream just for a moment that that's going to be a clean, no frills, fantastic tag team. Because that's the dream, isn't it?
It's really, really funny considering we talk about just this loaded tag division, and it is Stardom. Not only Stardom, but just the Joshi tags we've been seeing in the Sari shows and then the Marigold shows. Like the Joshi wrestlers are really dominating the tag scene in 2024 as far as quality matches go, but especially in Stardom. And considering the fact that, again, we're a few weeks away from this tournament, your tag champs are Tekla and Momo Watanabe. You'd be like, well, you have to put the tag champs in that tournament, right? I wouldn't be heartbroken if they do Watanabe and Kamatani as a tag team. And I didn't realize I wanted them as a team until you said it. In my opinion, the 2 greatest Wonder of Stardom champions of all time, and 2 former winners of the Cinderella tournament, and 2 former finalists of the 5-star Grand Prix as well. I think them 2 as a tag team would be absolutely terrific, considering the fact that they are like the cool heels of the group that is 58 members of Hate. I would love to see them as a tag team in the tournament. But if we don't get them as a tag team in the tournament, at least we have this match, because we could say, wow, these 2 absolutely terrific together. They teamed a little bit when they were in Queen's Quest back in like 2019 and 2020, but obviously Saya Kamatani was not the super worker back then that she is now. And Momo Watanabe really this past 12, 14 months has really molded herself into that really fantastic heel worker that she is. So you throw that in there, Rob. We have Rana Yugami and Soriano. I believe you said that's a singles match, correct?
It is indeed.
That's going to be a really, really good match. Obviously, I expect Soriano to get the win there, but Rana Yugami is terrific, and obviously Soriano is going to pull Rana Yugami up to make her look better than she already does. But my question is, my friend, in your expert opinion, what do you think is the theme that Meltier is going to come out to? Are they going to come out to a Tam theme, a Natsupoi team? Are they going to come out to Flowing? Are they going to come out to Tear Tails? What are they going to come out to Double Frontier? Is it going to be some sort of mix or mashup? Or are they going to come out to the the Ultimate Warrior theme. Like, what do you think they're going to come out to at this show?
It upsets me on a molecular level that you can list all of these names off the top of your head.
You should be proud of me and happy for me because we are a team together. We might be the second best team in all of Stardom behind Meltier. So you should be like, yes, the fact that I know I can go to you for any stat and you give it to me right away, where you be like, Matt, what in this venue with this weather climate, what do you think is the best theme for Meltier to come out to? And I can tell you, because that is the team that is us, my friend. So you turn that frown upside down, buddy.
Anyway, speaking of...
God, I laughed at. I thought you hung up.
Mate, I very nearly just put the phone down on you. Very, very nearly just stopped the recording. I was like, no, I can't deal with this. Yeah, it's funny as you mentioned, Tekla. She's not on any of these cards, and she did post to her personal Instagram her arm in a cast. There's been no confirmation from either of Stardom's Twitter accounts. I was just looking through to make sure I hadn't missed anything, but nothing has been announced as of yet. Fingers crossed that she's okay. I was looking during the title match to see where it had happened. I can't really see where it happened, but yeah, her arm in a sling on Instagram. No word yet from Stardom as to whether it's a serious injury. Obviously, it's in a cast. There's going to be relative seriousness there. How long she's out for, whether this means that she misses the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League, because as you mentioned, Matt, they start, I believe, the 27th, of October in Shinjuku, and that's live on Stardom World. So it would be a shame for her to miss them, especially as she is one half of the tag champs, but maybe this partnership between Momo and Saya is contingency in case she can't make it.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback where she got hurt, again, I don't know. It could have been from one of the either Pharaoh gifts or that insane twisting Pharaoh gift that Natsupoi did. Sometimes you can land. It may look like that you landed safe, but you may not realize what you've done until after the match, until the adrenaline wears off. It's wrestling. Injuries happen all the time. Yeah, it looks like Tekla is in a sling, but it's not stopping her from cutting profanity-laced promos on social media, brother.
No, and I'd be disappointed if it did, to be perfectly honest. I think we sort of just expect that from the Idol Killer now. But yeah, obviously we wish her nothing but the best. Hopefully not too serious an injury, and hopefully we'll see her back in the ring soon. We'll move on then to that third show announced. This is in Toyama, the Toyama Bulford Toyama venue. Stardom have run it a handful of times recently. The card is as follows: tag team match, Watsukiyama and Hanako against the God's Eye team of Lady C and Rani Yagami, the Neo Genesis team of Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki against the team of Hanan and Koguma of Stars. Three-way battle, Syuri versus Saya Ida versus Rian. We've then got a tag team match, the Cosmic Angels team of Yuna Mizumori and Aya Sakura against the Hate team of Momo Watanabe and Saya Kamatani, again teaming together. 6-woman tag match, the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Momokogo taking on the EXV team of Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Xena. And then in, again, what is listed as your main event, a 6-woman tag match, the Neo Genesis team, Starlight Kid, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki taking on Tam Nakano, Sayori Ano, and Sayaka Kurora of Cosmic Angels. I believe that Natsupoi is missing this show. Is this from the 14th? Yes, she's missing this show. I believe she is wrestling at the Kaori Ito 35th anniversary show. Because I was looking at it there going, I'm sure there's someone missing. It is. There's Natsupoi missing. I'm sure it's Kaori Ito's 35th anniversary show. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, though. But yeah, no Natsupoi on here. Matt, Crazy Star versus Koguma and Hanan could be very interesting. I think it's almost a given at this point that Hanako and Wakasukiyama are going to be teaming in the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. They've teamed a lot recently. Again, Saya and Momo teaming together, maybe as contingency. I'm really interested in the rest of EXV. How are we going to pair them off into Tag League? Is Mina Shirakawa going to take another extended leave from AEW, meaning that we get Maika and Xena? Of course, Maika, winner of the Tag League last year with Megan Bayne as Divine Kingdom. Or is it going to be a powerhouse team of Maika and Mina Shirakawa. Also, in terms of Neo Genesis, we've got Crazy Star. Where does that leave O2 line? Do we have Azumi and Miyu Amasaki? We've talked about this before. Or do we have the super team of Azumi and Starlight Kid tagging together? There's a lot of different combinations that you can make, especially in Neo Genesis, Matt.
Yeah, again, there's really no combinations that can really miss. Again, for as far as the factions goes, for stars, I think you need to do Peach Rock with Mayu and Momo. You need to do FWC because they're the best, and you need to do Wingori because Wingori may win this. And I know a couple months ago that was your early prediction. My guy Rob might be onto something. I got a lot of stuff right this year, as you did. I think it's your turn to win another one. So again, we'll get into that in a few weeks. But yeah, the Neo Genesis is really interesting because you can pair those teams off really any way. I just selfishly want Suzu and Mei Sarah as Crazy Star together. If they do Azumi and Mei Sarah, we know that team works. We know Suzu Miyu Amasaki, we know that works. I'm going to hold true to what I said last week, where I think Miyu Amasaki, as she's now the new Future of Stardom champion. I think you just use the tournament to have her in some matches to build up some contenders, or have one or two Future Stardom championship matches on this tour, and you team the dream team up of the Eternal Foes now in the same faction of I believe the internet's calling them Starbomb, of one Azumi and Starlight Kid. That would be the way I would go with it. I wouldn't be heartbroken if O2 Line is a team there. I mean, really, there's really no wrong combination you can go in Neo Genesis. Again, I would just really, really want Crazy Star to be a team in this tournament because I believe they were the MVPs for me in the tournament last year, and they're better this year than they were last year, not only as a team but individually. As far as EXV goes, yeah, that's another one that you kind of don't know which way they're going to go. I hope it's Hanako and Waka because they have really good chemistry together as a team. And I don't see them getting many, many points, but I see them gelling well as a team and having really, really good matches. Yeah, where do you go with the kind of the odd person out? Is Mina going to be over here in the States doing more stuff with AEW? I mean, as we're recording this, they had AEW on Thursday, and Mariah May was on commentary for a match and kept mentioning about how she wants Mina, and she wants Mina back, and she wants Mina in AEW more. So that's a possibly angle that they're going with there. And if that's the way they go, I mean, this is one that they can kind of afford if Mina's going to go back to the States. This is a tournament that they can afford for her to go, because then you could just team Xena up with Maika, and nobody would have any issues with that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with there. And you're absolutely right. What do they do with Hate? You know, do we do BMI 2000? Do we do Team XL that we saw last year with Tora and Momo Watanabe? You're right, Tekla, if she is injured, obviously, again, she has the cast on her hand. This is a tournament that, as far as actual in-ring participation, she can afford to miss, because then, again, you just made mention, Momo and Saya Kamatani. Yes, please, they would be terrific. And you could still have Tekla second them to the ring. You can still have her cutting promos and getting the heat outside the ring. So you can still have her on these shows, just not furthering her injury and give her time to heal up. Again, pending on, we don't know yet, pending on what the severity is of her wrist or arm injury. So there's a lot of different teams that you could team up. Again, as far as Hate goes, the team that I would like to see the most, okay, Momo and Saya Kamatani, you sold me their partner, but Rina and Azusa Inaba, if they bring Azusa in, because those two are terrific as a team. Again, there's a lot of different ways that they can go about it. I just hope they don't shuffle up the teams for like no apparent reason, like we've seen them do in the past. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Mike and Himika, they've never been in this tournament as a team. They've always shuffled up that DDM team, correct?
No, they were in 2022 together.
Oh, okay. See, there you go. And that's the stat, folks. That's why I go to Rob for stat. And I'm not upset that I went from the stat and he gave me the right stat. However, again, he's upset with me that I'm a big fan of Flowing and Tear Tails and Double Frontier. But again, another story for another day.
I've never been more disappointed in you. Yeah.
What if I was wearing a baseball jersey, my friend? Would that soften the blow?
That would immediately soften the blow. Do you know why? More layers of clothing. That's how that works, right? Yeah, looking at 2023, which was just a rank year for Stardom, especially those last 6 months in terms of injury. Like, just looking at that tournament, bearing in mind you'd already lost Saya Kamatani due to injury, you'd already lost Utami through injury, you'd lost Starlight Kid through injury as well. And then, on top of that, You've then got Tam Nakano and Yuna Mizumori, who were announced but didn't wrestle a match. You'd got Hazuki and Koguma, who pulled out of... No, it wasn't Hazuki and Koguma, actually. It was Ami Sourei and Lady C pulled out as well. You had Syuri and Saki Kashima, who pulled out for a match as well. It was carnage, this tournament. How they managed to actually book a tournament, I've got no idea. So in terms of mixing teams up, we'll give them a pass for last year. However, I am with you. You have got perhaps the best Stardom tag division that there has ever been, I want to say.
Yep, ever. Yep.
Use this as an advert for just how good Stardom is, because I will fight to the death on the hill that Stardom do multi-people matches better than any other company. As proved by the four-way tag team match on the pay-per-view, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Exactly what was needed after, effectively, what was a murder between Hazuki and Starlight Kid. But you look at this tournament here, you've got Mayu and Hanan as eye contact, and then you've got Hanako and Saya Ida teaming as Maximum Mini. Now, obviously, Momo Kogo, I believe, was injured. You'd got Utami out injured, as I mentioned, Saya Kamatani out injured, Tam out injured. I believe Natsupoi was also out injured.
Yeah, because I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I think when they originally announced the teams, that Aphrodite and Meltier were teams that were announced, and then like 24 hours later, they're like, nope, sorry. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, there was no Saori Ano in this tournament either. They brought in Prominence, who again did a really good job. Of the teams that are actually in the 2023 tournament, we're talking a lot about the Tag League. I would argue that there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 14 teams in the 2023 block. I would argue that we would see O2 Line, FWC, Crazy Star, maybe Anacon, which was Syuri and Saki Kashima, maybe if Saki Kashima is fit. That's 4 of the 14 teams that they had last year. I don't see any of the other teams being together because I completely agree with you. I think the Stars... Oh my God, hiccups. The Stars team should be Wingori, it should be FWC, and it should be Peach Rock. I think... Were Ami Sourei not out injured, I think we would have had a return of the Reiwa Tokyo Towers, but obviously that's not going to happen. I think O2 Line needs to happen because it gives more of a rub for Mio Amasaki. Hate, dependent on Tekla, we will see. Another interesting one is that Cosmic Angels trio of Tam, Natsupoi, and Saori Ano, because I think we're going to have Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora team in this tournament. I think you're going to have Natsupoi teaming with either Tam or Saori Ano, and then have Yuna teaming with the other one. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But which way do you go? Do you go Saori Poi or do you go Melty? I know which way I would go, because if I'm Stardom, I want to put all my best teams in there, and Meltier are one of the best teams in this tournament. Put them in there together because they are that good. And especially when you are, touch wood, as blessed without injuries as you are at the moment. Obviously, I know we're still without Amasori. I know we're out without Fukigen Death. And I know we're without Saki Kashima and potentially Tekla as well. But you still have more than enough there to do the best tag league you've ever done. Because 2022, to my mind, is probably the best tag league that they ever did, only for it then to be spoiled by their choice of winner. But I think you have the opportunity here to put on an even better tournament with the right selection of teams. Because that is something, Matt, that you know I'm vocally opposed to. I hate that they would mess up teams in the tag league. Like, obviously, if you've got Fukuoka Double Crazy and they've been in the tournament for, 6 years, for example, and you want to freshen things up, fair enough. But Wingori have only teamed together in one tag league. Meltier have only teamed together, I believe, have they teamed in 2 tag leagues? No, 1 tag league, 2022. So I feel like there needs to be more of a focus on our established tag teams. And who knows, we might see... I think Rina and Azusa Inaba is a great shout. Put them into the tournament. If you can book Azusa Inaba for those dates, bring her in. Same with Tomoka Anaba. Revisit Karate Brave if you can't do Syuri and Saki Kashima. Because if you can't do Syuri and Saki Kashima, Amisori's already out for the tag league. You've then got Syuri, Lady C, Hina, and Rani Yagami. I don't know what Hina's availability is like with school, so that leaves you with 3. Give Syuri and Tomoka Inaba the team of Karate Brave again, and then have Lady C and Rani Yagami. That is how I would do it anyway, Matt. What about you? Before we move on to the actual stuff we're going to talk about without this impromptu bloody preview of the tag league that isn't coming up till the end of the month, what would you do?
As far as Cosmic Angels goes, I would do Aya and Sayaka. They've been great as a team together. And then as far as where do you go with the top 4, I would do Meltier, because you have Tam and Natsupoi. They're your big team. They're your big drawing team, and they're your 2 champions. And then I would do Soriano and Yuna Mizumori. And the main reason why I would make sure I'd have Soriano and Yuna Mizumori, we've been singing her praises the last 18 months, right? Phenomenal in the ring. She's terrific. How she's been able to transform, the way that she's been able to do stuff in the ring is fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Yuna Mizumori, but where Yuna's been at her best is when she's been in the ring with Soriano, whether they're straight up tags or they're 6-person. Soriano and Yuna Mizumori have a very underrated chemistry that not a lot of the fan bases are talking about. Now, are they FWC? No. Are they Wingori? No. Are they Crazy Star? No. But they're really, really good as a tag team. I wouldn't be heartbroken if we have Sarapoi, because Natsupoi and Soriano, they're terrific. And then Tam and Yuna Mizumori would be an interesting team. But as far as the 6 and the Cosmic Angels, I think that is a very easy way to chop it up with, again, you have Meltier, the fact that, again, they are your red belt and white belt champion. We've never had that before in the tag league. So that would be really, really something really cool. And then again, I'm a huge fan of the team of Yuna Mizumori, easy for me to say, and Soriano. But yeah, they use a lot of different moving parts. I would love to see Karate Brave back in the tournament. I mean, sharing Tomoka Inaba, their match with Aphrodite towards the end of the 2022 tournament was really, really good. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And again, I wholeheartedly feel that this is going to be the best Goddess of Stardom tournament they ever put on, because I agree with what you said a few minutes ago. This is the best the tag division as a whole has ever been. I mean, we've seen great tag teams like Aphrodite, like Thunder Rock, that have just been, some of the best tag teams in all of wrestling for those 2 or 3 years. But as far as an actual tag league goes, the tag division Stardom has never been better, and you're doing some great job building up some of these teams leading up to this tournament. And hopefully we get an announcement in the next week or so what the teams are going to look like, so I can continue to salivate at the fantastic tag division that is Stardom, brother.
Yeah, and perhaps the most intriguing thing about this entire tournament is who will Mayu Iwatani team with, because if she teams with Momokogo, it will be her first 2-time tag partner since Saki Kashima in 2018-2019. So fingers crossed for Peach Rock. Matt, let's finally talk about the show from the 2nd. Stardom Naita in Korakuen, October, Wednesday, October the 2nd, 2024, in front of 844 people, obviously just shy of the highest attendance they've drawn in terms of the Stardom Nighters, which is 1,000, I believe 1,017, but I could be wrong. I will just double check. 1,000, and where's the Niter show? Where is the Niter show? 1,017, I was right. But slightly higher than the 796 that they drew back in July. So a number I imagine they will be moderately proud of. In terms of results, that is as follows. So your YouTube match was the Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano and Aya Sakura versus Neo Genesis, Suzu Suzuki and Azumi. Azumi getting the pinfall over Aya Sakura in 12 minutes and 48 seconds. We then had a 6-woman tag match, which saw the team of Miyu Amasaki, Hina, and Tomoka Inaba lose to the hate team of Ruaka, Azusa, Inaba, and Rina, with Ruaka getting the pinfall over Hina with the neck hanging bomb in 8 minutes and 41 seconds. We move on then to a singles match, Battle of the Momos, peach on a pole match, if you will. Momo Watanabe defeating Momokogo in 8 minutes and 56 seconds with the B-Driver. 8-woman tag action next. The God's Eye team of Syuri, Lady C, Ronnie Yagami, and satellite member, but still a member, Nanami, who was filling in for Saki Kashima, defeated the EXV team of Xena, Wax Tsukiyama, Hanako, and Rian, with Nanami getting the win with the Northern Lights suplex in 11 minutes and 2 seconds. In what was, in my humble opinion, the best match on this card, tag team action, FWC and Starlight Kid and Meisera went to a double count out in 12 minutes and 36 seconds, with Hazuki and Kid just going to town on one another. We then had a 4 versus 4 elimination match, which I will be perfectly honest, I didn't realize was actually an elimination match until the end, but there we are, where the hate team of Natsukatora, Sayaka Matani, Tekla, and Konami defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Natsupoi, Sayori Ano, Yuna Mizumori, and Sayaka Kurora in 24 minutes and 54 seconds. Natsupoi being the last eliminated for Cosmic Angels. Tekla eliminating her with a poisonous spider death drop, but let's face it, that's only a very small part of the story of that match. And then in your main event, we saw another preview for Toni Storm and Mayu Iwatani, a 6-woman tag match. Timeless Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, and Maika defeating the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hanan, and Saya Ida. Toni Storm pinning Hanan with the Storm Zero in 13 minutes and 45 seconds. Hiccups again. Matt, what would you like to talk about, brother?
I thought this, we'll start with the opener. This was a great way to start the show. Aya Sakura looking really, really good here, considering the fact you have a main eventer in Tam, a main eventer in Azumi, a main event in Suzu Suzuki. This match was really just kind of, again, great job putting this on as your opening match to heat up the crowd and your free YouTube match, as this was your last chance to see Tam and Suzu Suzuki in a ring before their big championship match, later on in the week or over the weekend. But I thought Aya Sakura really, really overachieved in this match, and she did a great job going toe-to-toe with Azumi, which makes me wonder what an Aya versus Azumi match would look like in 6 or 7 months from now. I thought these two teams worked really well together. And considering the fact that when it comes to Neo Genesis, and we just made mention, you can shake these 5 wrestlers up any way you want in the tag division, but we don't really see Azumi and Suzu teaming up that much, but they were really, really good as a tag team. And considering the fact that Azumi does have a win over Tam in the 5-star Grand Prix, I would not be heartbroken if we see Azumi challenge for the World of Stardom Championship sooner than later, because I thought their chemistry was terrific. All in all, an excellent, excellent match. I did like the finish was as violent as I thought it would be, with Suzu hitting a double spear onto the 2 members of Cosmic Angels, and then Azumi putting the young Aya away with the brutal double stomp. I have this at 4 stars and a great way to start off this show.
Yeah, it's almost exactly what you want the YouTube free match to be, isn't it? You don't want to give away too much, but also you want it to be an advert, A, for the show, and B, for the pay-per-view, especially as this pay-per-view had a lot riding on it in terms of English coverage, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. Azumi, they've done a really good job of low-key continuing to build her, and though we didn't actually get an official challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship, I feel like everyone knows it is only a matter of time before she comes out to challenge Mayu, and giving her the victory here just keeps it ticking over in everyone's mind that, yeah, Azumi is a star, she is waiting in the wings, and I think that is certainly the way to go for historic crossover. Aya Sakura, another great performance. She's really, really, really improved, and she's improved really quite quickly as well. That match against Rina, really good, and here she was the perfect foil to some of the more brutish assaults of Suzu Suzuki, even if it was Tam that was kicked down the stairs of Korakuen, but there we are. Moving on to the next match then, the 6-woman tag, which sort of played off as a preview of the Future of Stardom Championship match. Matt, what were your thoughts on this match in particular? And long-haired Ruaka, which is always a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, do you think she's dabbling in the Natsupoi hair tonic? You know, that's something that we may have to address on this show in a future episode. I think this was solid. It was it's tough to follow that match. And I thought this was good enough. You were able to tell the tale of again Rina Miyu Amasaki. You're still building towards that match that again we would see at the Nagoya Golden Fight show, which we're going to be reviewing in just a moment. Not enough Tomoko versus Zusa Violet in this match. When this match was first announced and I saw the graphic, I'm like, oh, the sisters are going to crush each other. And we only got a little bit. I thought it was fine. It did what it needed to do. It didn't overstay its welcome. I had it at 3.25 stars. And good job getting Ruwaka the win. That may go to play into maybe Ruwaka getting a future of Stardom championship somewhere down the line.
Yeah, certainly. Again, now that Rina has dropped the title, spoilers, it does open up the door for challenges that Rina has already beaten. So some exciting things there. Momokogo, I thought, gave a really good account of herself here, but she was never winning this. Not only because Momo Watanabe is just so significantly stronger, but also you've got the hate to contend with as well. But still a decent match, Matt.
We've seen Momo Kogo on these Korakuen shows, especially these singles matches. She really maximizes every second she's in the ring. You remember that little mini tournament match that she had with Lady C back in the summer with the winner of that part of the tournament going on to the 5-star Grand Prix. I think they only had like 6 or 7 minutes and they really had a great match and she really got a great job getting the crowd going in Korakuen Hall to rally behind her, which she did here with Momo Watanabe. Obviously Momo playing the heel here, but Momo Watanabe gives enough to Momo Kogo, metal Momo Kogo, by the way, to really make her offense look better than it usually does. You know, the way she innovates the 619, the Tiger Feint kick, the way she's been able to use the springboards, her fire and her fighting spirit, I thought went really, really well here. And I thought Momo Watanabe did a great job selling it and putting Momo Kogo over. But ultimately, it was just the blitzing effort that is Momo Watanabe, you know, between the mid kicks and the crossface chicken wing and the tequila sunrises and the way she builds certain things up. I just thought that it was just a little bit too much at the end for Momo Kogo to deal with. Terrific match that had a really great finish. I had a 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was terrific. And again, a great way for the crowd to get involved in this match where you have a pure babyface that everybody loves and a pure heel that everybody loves to boo, even though Momo Watanabe is one of the best overall wrestlers on this loaded Stardom roster. A really great showing from Momo Kogo, but yeah, Momo Watanabe ultimately with the big win. Again, 3 3/4 stars for me, partner.
So God's Eye versus EXV, the return of Nanami to a Stardom ring, obviously bought in last minute as cover for Saki Kashima. We did see Saki as the second. Hopefully we see her back sooner rather than later. How do you think she did here, Matt?
I thought she was highlighted really well, considering the fact that you have a Shiri, a Lady C, a Rani Yugami, on one end, and then you have a Xena Hanako, who you've really been pushing on the other end. I was shocked the fact that she got the win here. Again, we've only seen her in Stardom just a handful of matches, and you're right, she's a satellite member of God's Eye. So considering the fact that she's getting a win here on Korakuen Hall, makes you wonder, is she going to be somebody that they're going to insert into the Goddess tournament where she may team with a Rana, Lady C, or Sherry? We don't know because we don't have like a solid, 1-2 punch tag team that is in God's Eye right now. So that's a possibility they may go with. I thought she was great. Again, they gave her the opportunity to shine and she got the win here. Really good stuff, of course, with Sherry, Xena, Hanako, Lady C. I thought everybody looked really, really good here. 3.25 stars for me. Again, this wasn't blow away by any stretch of the imagination, but it did what it needed to do. And it's really interesting to see what they're going to be doing with Nanami. Again, whether this is just a one-off, I don't think so, because I think that with her getting the win here, again, in Korakuen Hall on an important show like this, I think they have plans for her somewhere down the line. My guess would be is if Saki Kashima is not fit to compete in the Goddess tournament, and we know that Ami Sohrei is it, maybe they insert her in here just to maybe flush out God's Eye in the tag tournament. Again, a good enough match. 3.25 stars for me, good sir.
Moving on then, it does appear like we are whipping through this card, but, the main event, so to speak, is certainly the Nagoya Golden Fight show. However, what felt like the main event of this show was the match between Fukuoka Double Crazy and Starlight Kid and Mei Seira, where there was an escalation to the aggression between Hazuki and Starlight Kid. Now, I must admit, I've been watching Stardom since late 2019, full time. And I had no idea the hatred that Starlight Kid and Hazuki had for each other. And if it wasn't made clear in the press conference, it bloody was here, and it certainly was at the pay-per-view. This was the perfect advert for their singles match, and even more than that, it was so good to see Hazuki firing on all cylinders again.
Yeah, not only that, but the match starts and gets going, and I quickly forgot, because just how great these wrestlers are, I quickly forgot that they're all former. Well, we have May Sarah as the current high-speed champion and a former champion as well. They're all former high-speed champions, and four wrestlers that really mastered that style, and they're able to bring it up to a main event style and a tag team style. So I liked how before we teased a little bit of the violence early on with Starlight Kid. She gets the early head scissors and then does Hazuki's boot scrape, which eventually she pays for. But then it kind of, you get the really, really great flashiness of these four wrestlers and these two teams with a high speed action. Some great stuff back and forth between May Sarah with Kagama, Hazuki, Starlight Kid. And then we get great teamwork that is FWC. And again, in my opinion, they're the best tag team in all of wrestling. Some really interesting stuff here. But eventually this spills out. And very much like the first two matches, it's just a preview for your big pay-per-view match coming up again that wind up happening that weekend, which again we're going to be reviewing in just a moment here, with these two just brawl all over Korakuen Hall. It always seems like Korakuen Hall is the venue to have for your big brawl, because we've seen it. And again, you mentioned 2019 when you first started watching Stardom, you had the big match that, in my opinion, put Julia on the map at year-end climax in 2019 with her and Hana Kimura, who I think they basically touched every seat in Korakuen Hall, where they went all over with the brawl, where these two were brawling all over each other, and literally to where our good friends Walker Stewart and Tom Fain had to pull a little Iron Maiden, and they had to run to the hills, run for their life, because the table that they were just sitting at, just taking notes, just getting ready to rock and roll, getting some more knowledge as they were doing commentary, and the fantastic commentary they did on the pay-per-view this past weekend, just minding their own business, taking some notes, and all of a sudden here comes Suzuki and Starlight Kid ready to absolutely destroy each other. They had to get away. They had to grab their laptops and run away from the table they were at, as these two were all over each other. And God bless May Sarah and Kogman kind of pulling them apart, saying, calm down. Eventually this goes to a double count out. I thought this was the right ending for this match, considering of what we saw this past weekend. Tremendous match. I totally agree with you when you said this was your favorite match of the show. I agree with you as well. 4.25 stars. This match had a little bit of everything. You had your violence in the beginning, you had great tag work in the middle, you had great high-speed action between these four great high-speed style wrestlers. Ultimately, it's just the water boils over on the pot, and Hazuki and Starlight Kid have had enough of each other. You get this wild brawl, ends in the double count out. Great stuff. 4.25 stars for me, brother.
Moving on then to your semi-main event. So okay, so this elimination match is going to be known for Clark Connors coming in and spearing Natsupoi. And he did not hold back on that spear either. He proper went through Natsupoi. And we said because I think we recorded the Marigold Standard on that day, so we actually spoke about it in the news segment on the Marigold Standard. And we said, obviously, it's building towards something for historic crossover, which we've already talked about a little bit today with the announcement of that first match. What was your thought process about Clark making an appearance, about this whole thing to do with Tekla, her reasoning that she gave as to why she's been sort of lulling Natsupoi into a false sense of security, and what your thoughts are for the Clark Connors sort of alliance moving forward? Do you think it was a sole thing just to promote historic crossover, especially because Clark didn't make an appearance in Nagoya? Or do you think this is something that we are going to see more and more of a crossover with?
I mentioned this on the Marigold Standard when we talked about this, and I'll mention it again. The whole reason for this was for this match to have more heat, right? They got booed. Clark and Tekla got booed in the right kind of heat, and put more sympathy on Natsupoi. Thus, when Natsupoi was doing her comeback, in that match with Tekla was able to get more of a reaction, which I think that comeback was kind of the thing that carried that match. Again, we'll get into a little bit. Yeah, I totally. If they don't have some sort of tag with Tekla and Clark Connors on the same side for historic crossover, then it was kind of a miss. Not unless something crazy happens, right? But then it was kind of a miss for me. But I think this angle happened, and I think it was a day or two later, I recorded a bonus episode where myself and Andy Header did Toni Storm's brief but really good run for the World of Stardom Championship that we put on the other free feed for everybody to enjoy. And we did talk about, after we hit the record button, before we got into the Toni Storm, her run with the red belt back in 2017. I did ask him on air, and anybody can listen to it, what he thought of this angle, what he thought about the some of the fan base being upset with it. And Andy put it very perfectly. He said he absolutely loved the angle for the reasons that I just said. And I know the same reasons that you said last week on the Marigold show, and the same reasons me and you talked off air about. But he said, it's just an angle to promote, one, the Natsupoi Tekla match, two, to more than likely promote a match at Historic Crossover, again, depending on Tekla with her injury to her wrist. But he said it very well. He said, is the War Dogs going to be coming in every show and beating up all the girls from Stardom? No. He goes, is the Bullet Club War Dogs going to win every single belt in Stardom? No. And he said, is this going to lead to a Clark Connors versus Natsupoi steel cage match? He said, no. So it's not that big of a deal.
So.
That's exactly what I thought. I didn't want to interrupt him because he made it. I was thinking the same thing. Oh my God.
Imagine.
So obviously I didn't interrupt him. I didn't interrupt him. I didn't say it on the show because I was saving it for here. But you're absolutely right. Like the War Dogs aren't going to be coming in and beating up Shuri and Saya Kamatani and Tekla or Tekla's part. You know what I mean? They're not going to be doing run-ins every single show. They're not going to be winning the red belt and the white belt. But then he said it's not going to lead to a Natsupoi versus Clark Connors cage match. And I was like, oh, that's the one time that I'm going to disagree with them, because I would love to see it. And apparently you would as well. But he made a lot of really, really good points. But no, I mean, I had no problem with it. Again, you want, and not only that, but you want Tekla to get a big win on this show in Korakuen Hall to build her up more for her Wonder of Stardom Championship match. And that's what it did. She pinned, even though with interference, and rightfully so, she pinned Natsupoi, the Wonder of Stardom champion, in the middle of the ring of Korakuen Hall just days before her chance to win the Wonder of Stardom Championship. I had no problem with it. I had no problem with the heat. And matter of fact, I now have a problem with it. Did I not have a problem with it? But I actually really, really enjoyed the angle. I thought it was very well done.
So, obviously, that aside, we had an elimination match. And the thing I wanted to sort of highlight is Sayaka Kurora, who I thought has been low-key, well, not even low-key, she's been fantastic over the last couple of shows. And that sort of double elimination with Saya Kamatani, I think, was the perfect sort of closing shot for their singles match at the pay-per-view. And credit where credit's due. I know that Taro Okada's booking has divided opinion among some fans. One thing that I absolutely love about Stardom at the moment, and I know that you agree, Max, it's something that we spoke about yesterday, is the fact that everyone seems to have a story. It's not just about the titles. We had a singles match between Saya Kamatani and Sayaka Kurora. Sayaka Kurora, by the way, who's a rookie, less than a year into her career, she's got a singles pay-per-view match against Saya Kamatani, and it's not just a squash match. There is story surrounding it, and I think that is a huge positive to come from Stardom's booking. You've got Hazuki versus Starlight Kid on this pay-per-view. Again, is that for a title? No. Is it a squash match? No. Does it matter? Yes. Of course it does. And it does feel like every match matters. That every match there is some sort of story to watch as well. And that was something that we praised Marigold for their Korakuen Hall show that we've just seen. And that's something that I'm a huge fan of in terms of Stardom. And I think Sayaka Kurora is someone who is benefiting hugely from that adapted booking strategy, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're going to get into it in a little bit, but they broke the attendance record for themselves in that venue. And I think a lot of it has to do based on all these stories that they're doing, not just for the red belt, not just for the white belt, not just for the high speed belt, but you have singles matches that mean something. And Saya Kamatani was an absolute like Ric Flair 1985 bumping machine in that match for the young Sayaka Kurora. And again, we'll get into it. Kamatani did a great job elevating Sayaka Kurora up in that match. You're absolutely right. I thought the double elimination here really made sense. And then it came down to your singles match with Tekla versus Natsupoi, which again leads into the angle. As far as the elimination match goes, this match as a whole, I had it 3 3/4 stars. I thought the stories, again, you're just using this show as your last opportunity to sell more tickets, sell more pay-per-views, sell more YouTube subscriptions, sell more Stardom World subscriptions going into that big pay-per-view this past weekend. And they did a great job building up not only the Tekla versus Natsupoi story, but as well as Sayaka Kurora and Saya Kamatani. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend, on this one.
And speaking about trying to sort of bring in last-minute buys for the pay-per-view, we had Mayu Iwatani and Toni Storm having their last preview match before their singles match. Overall, I enjoyed this match. I enjoyed not only the interactions between Mayu and Toni, even though there was relatively few in the grand scheme of things, really. But I also enjoyed the Sayurida and Maika exchanges. I thought Hanan looked really good for the limited time she was in there, until she ate the Storm Zero, of course, but that's by the by. I thought this match did everything it needed to, plus we had a lovely gif of Maika trying to do the Toni Storm and Mina dance, which will live forever in my head as one of the most hilarious and awkward moments in a Stardom ring. It was great, Matt.
Rob, really good match. A great way to end this show. I had it at 4 stars. Now, again, I threw this out to Andy Header on the same show. I'm going to throw it out to you. Toni Storm, obviously having the time of her life in Stardom. She loves Stardom. She was over in Stardom for more than a week, not only doing a handful of shows to build up towards her match with Mayu, but doing some phenomenal press conferences, which we got into last week, some backstage promos, which were really, really good. I would not be shocked that come Dream Queendom, we see Toni Storm back in Stardom. Again, more than likely, she'll be there on that tour because they have that Wrestle Dynasty show, which is CMLL, Ring of Honor, AEW, and New Japan, and Stardom. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see her back in Ryogoku at the end of the year. And I throw this out to Andy Header, and I'm going to throw it out to you. We only saw it for a little bit in the ring. Toni Storm versus Hanan on that show. What do you think, partner?
Wow. I mean, that's sound like Owen Wilson then. Wow.
Whoa, wow. Carver's out of balsa wood.
Do you know what? Like, I quite like that idea. I mean, Hanan has had a tremendous year when you think about it. Had her first shot at the white belt, won the Cinderella tournament, came to in the semi-finals of the 5-star Grand Prix, having beaten 2 previous winners of the tournament in Suzu Suzuki and Syuri, clean, by the way. You know what? I'd love to see that. I'd love to see her get that little bit more exposure. And I think a match with Toni Storm, I think we'd all agree that Toni Storm would win that match. But the exposure, it's the Nanae Takahashi thing. You know, you actually get a lot from being in the same ring. And I think, you know, having that high-profile singles match, if that's something that Stardom and AEW want to pursue, why the hell not? Why the hell not? And something else as well, Matt. In those 6-woman matches, those 2 matches that we had to preview the singles match, I thought Toni lent far more into a character in Korakuen than she did on the pay-per-view, because save for her entrance, I don't think there was anything of the timeless gimmick at all. She was very, very single-minded and focused during that pay-per-view, wasn't she? And I actually thought it was quite a stark contrast, to the point where I was like, oh my God, Toni has arrived.
Yeah, which we knew was going to be. And again, we're literally going to get into it probably, starting in just a minute here. But yeah, overall the match was really good. Maika, Mina, and Toni Storm worked really well together. Not only with the little in between shenanigans they were doing and the promo afterwards, but in the ring as well. I thought their teamwork was terrific. Again, you have Wingori, they're tremendous. Mayu Iwatani. I mean, what more can you say that we already haven't said and that we're going to continue to say? In my opinion, the greatest women's wrestler of all time, having her best in ring year. Again, this was just another great appetizer to what we're going to get on the pay-per-view, because ultimately that's what this show was. It was just your last stop. You're getting a little bit of teases to build up for the pay-per-view. But yeah, that's what I took out of this match was Hanan versus Toni Storm. I think that would be a great way to go. And you're absolutely right. What a great way to cap off Hanan's just phenomenal year with winning the Cinderella, with becoming seconds away of defeating Soriano and All-Star Grand Queendom. To win the Wonder of Stardom championship. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Defeating Suzuki and Shuri in the same night, then to qualify for the semifinals of the 5-star Grand Prix. I mean, I think that'd be a great, not unless you have a Wingori championship win. I wouldn't say no to that either, but I think a great way for Hana to end this banner year she's having is to have a nice 14, 15-minute match with a big star that is Toni Storm. But yeah, ultimately, my friend, really, really solid show. But this just was just a great show to build up to this another incredible pay-per-view from Stardom this past Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on then to that pay-per-view show from Saturday the 5th of October in Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium, Nagoya Golden Fight 2024. 1,526 in the venue. It's Stardom's highest ever in the venue, beating out the previous best of 1,353 that they drew for Stardom X Stardom 2022. And Matt, for a big Brucey bonus, can you tell me what the main event was of that show?
I can tell you the main event. I can tell you the 3 championship matches, buddy. It was Sherry versus Nanae Takahashi. Am I correct?
You are indeed. Well done.
Himika versus Sai Kamatani.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, it was supposed to be Kairi. Kairi, I think, got COVID like a day or two before. And then, in my opinion, that's the best Himika singles match I've ever seen. And in my opinion, the best match of the show was Meltier taking on FWC.
Correct. Well done, Brucey. Bonus for you.
Look at that.
As well as that, though, this was the first Stardom pay-per-view to feature English commentary since All-Star Grand Queendom back in April. So 6 months have passed between English pay-per-view coverage. And this is something I just wanted to bring up because I think, to start with, Walker Stewart and Tom Fain did a tremendous job on commentary. And to my mind, did one of the best English commentary jobs in terms of Stardom. And the reason I say that is because they had a fantastic on-screen chemistry. They were incredibly well-informed. You could tell they were passionate about what they were watching. You could tell they were well-informed about what they were watching. And again, just going back to that chemistry, it was something that they seemed to have developed almost instantaneously. And sometimes that takes a long while to develop. You know, Stu Fulton and Sonny Gutierrez, there's a chemistry there, definitely. You know, and it takes time to develop that chemistry. And I think proper props need to go to Walker and to Tom for their fantastic coverage, and for Wacker as well, who's always a delight to hear on English commentary. But more than that, when it was announced that we were getting English commentary on at least the next handful of pay-per-views, I know that Nagoya Golden Fight, Historic Crossover, Dream Queendom are all getting English coverage. They did say that it will be tracked, basically. So pay-per-view buys in Western countries and English-speaking countries will be tracked and things like that. So it is more important than ever not to pirate the pay-per-view. If we want more English commentary, I know that I'm sort of preaching, and I know that they are incredibly expensive. And were this 2023, where they were doing pay-per-views every other week, I wouldn't be saying it, I'll be perfectly honest. However, with us now, you know, this has been something that fans have been crying out for a long, long time, is English coverage, you know, English commentary. And that was a huge barrier for a lot of people to get into Stardom. We have that now. We have the opportunity to have that for a long time as well, a consistent time for the first time in the company's history. We need to buy the pay-per-views. We need to up that metric so that when Bushiroad look at it, when Stardom head office look at it, we can see, right, there is an uptick, right, there is a desire for the Western audience to watch it. So a little bit of a soapbox moment there, but I feel like it benefits absolutely everyone, doesn't it? The fact that then with this, we get more and more English coverage. And with that, we get more English content as well.
I think that the pre-show buys must have been really good, considering the fact, Rob, that before the show was over, again, they announced that we're getting English covers for Historic Crossover, we're getting it for Dream Queendom, and then I believe Wrestle Dynasty as well, which again you're going to be having Stardom talent on there. So I think they had enough of pre-show buys where they said, okay, this is a really good metric. Let's announce that we're going to be doing English commentary, at least for these shows. I would love for, again, I'm going back to it, for the 10th time this show, I would love for the Goddess of Stardom tournament, at least maybe for the finals, to have English commentary. I think that would be terrific, especially the fact that you have Walker pretty much over in Japan now. Tom, I know, it's been living in Japan. I'm going to get into just the amazing person that Tom is, and we've had a relationship with him for the past couple of years. So they're already over in Japan. Why not throw maybe the Goddess tournament, maybe the finals, maybe the final night? Why not have them on commentary, do Walker on Tom, considering the fact that they're going to be in the building regardless, for that tournament. I would love to see it. But yeah, again, I just want to praise Tom, because I'm a big fan of betting on yourself and taking risk, because sometimes you take the jump and you don't know where you're going to land. Tom, we've had a relationship with for the last 2.5 years. He started the publication of Monthly Pure magazine, did a great job with that. We rented out ad space. The Stardom Cast rented out ad space for Monthly Puro, and I know you've had several conversations with him, as did I. I actually met Tom back, I think it was October, November. Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago. I think it was October 2022 when myself and Amber, my wife, we went to New York City to see that there was a New Japan show that Mayu was defending the SWA championship, Rob, if you remember that belt. And literally
on 44th Street, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. As we were walking in, Tom came up to me and said, "Are you Matt?" And he said, we introduced ourselves, we had a chat, we took a picture. He had a nice conversation with my wife where he was asking all sorts of questions, what it's like to date a wrestler and date somebody that's involved in the wrestling business. And I don't think my wife was ready for those blitzing questions. She's like, I don't know, just the way that he is. Yeah. He was like, do you want me to be? You were just really nice to us. Do you want me to be honest and tell you what a pain my husband is with all this wrestling that he does? But no, I mean, couldn't have been any nicer to me and my wife. And then he took the risk of literally cashing everything in and moving over to Japan, and again betting on himself. And he has a very great work ethic, and the fact that, and I didn't know he was going to be we knew it was Walker. We've known it was going to be Walker for a handful of weeks. We didn't know if he was going to be doing the show solo, if like a Xena or a Walker or Momokogo would be rotating in. We didn't know if Chris Charlton, who does the obviously the commentary for New Japan and has done some of the other pay-per-views for Stardom. I didn't know until maybe an hour or two before I went to bed that it was going to be Tom doing the commentary, and I couldn't been any happier for him. And I talked to him literally minutes after the show and let him know what a great job he did and Walker did. And obviously Walker's terrific. He's one of the best in the business. And considering the fact that a lot of the announcers that I listen to in wrestling, they've been announcing for years and years and years, where I've only heard Walker's commentary the last year and a half. And he's done a great job in New Japan, did a great job with the Stardom show. We know that he's been doing a lot of homework to know as much about Stardom as he possibly can. Hopefully sometime soon we'll have Walker on the show, as far as we get the logistics to work out. But regardless, great job Walker on the last few matches. She was terrific. But again, you're absolutely right, just the chemistry that Walker and Tom had on this show, considering I think this is the first time they've ever done commentary together. Obviously the first time they've ever done commentary on a Stardom show. They had instant chemistry. Again, I'm a big fan. I tweeted this out right after the show, and I'm going to say it again. I'm a big fan of great people doing great things. And Tom and Walker, not only are they great commentators, but they're great people, and I love seeing great people succeed, especially when they put the work in, brother.
Yeah, both Walker and Tom have been nothing but good to us, and yeah, haven't got a bad word to say about either of them. Moving on from that, let's have a look at this pay-per-view. Let's actually go through the results, because what a show this was, in every sense of the word. We started with a high-speed number one contendership 5-way battle royal. You have no idea how many times it took me to say that correctly. Yuna Mizumori defeated Kaguma Momokogo, Hina, and Ronnie Yagami, pinning Ronnie Yagami with the Supergirl in 8 minutes and 47 seconds. Future of Stardom Championship match, Miyu Amasaki ends the 512-day reign of Rina, becoming the 11th Future of Stardom champion, pinning her after a Tenzai in 14 minutes and 3 seconds. Singles match, Saya Kamatani defeated Sayaka Kurora with the Star Crusher in 12 minutes and 45 seconds. 12-woman tag match, the hate team of Natsuka Tora, Konami, Ruaka, and Momo Watanabe, and the villainous alliance of Dump Matsumoto and Zap defeated the EXV team of Maika, Mina Shirakawa, Hanako, Xena, Waka Tsukiyama, and Rian. Tora getting the pinfall with the Death Valley Bomb in 9 minutes and 10 seconds in a match that that Walker described as a match. Singles match then, Starlight Kid defeated Hazuki with the Momo latch in 19 minutes and 19 seconds. Four-way tag team match, the God's Eye team of Shiori and Lady C defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura and Shioriano, the Neo Genesis team of Mei Seira and Azumi, and the Wingori team of Hanan and Saya Ida when Shiori pinned Aya Sakura with the spinning Royen. Wonder of Stardom Championship match, Natsupoi, the champion, made her second title defense, defeating Tekla with a modified Ferial Gift in 19 minutes and 57 seconds. In your semi-main event, the reign of Mayu Iwatani continues. IWGP Women's Championship match, Mayu defeating Toni Storm with the Fubuki Rana in 18 minutes and 37 seconds. And then in your main event, World of Stardom Championship match, Tam Nakano, the champion, making her second defense, a match a year in the making, defeating Suzu Suzuki with a Twilight Dream in 23 minutes. Matt Turner, this was a really good show with only really one match that sort of raised the eyebrow, which I think everybody knows what match we are referring to. But other than that, I thought this show was fantastic. Those last two matches, the IWGP Women's Championship match and the World of Stardom Championship match, both really good. And that match between Starlight Kid and Hazuki, whoo-wee!
Yeah, a great 1-2 punch to kind of close out the show. And we've seen over the years when they would double up, when they'd have a Wonder of Stardom and a World of Stardom championship match to close out the show, especially in 2022 when you had Sherry and Saya Kamatani, two of the best champions, of their respected titles. Again, it's a great 1-2 punch to close ultimately, which was a great show. And I like how it started. I praise Yuna Mizumori quite often on this show. The fact that she gets a win on the pre-show and is now the number one contender for Mei Seira's high-speed championship. It's going to be really interesting because she's somebody that really doesn't wrestle that style, but I'm sure she can go. And Mei Seira is on a completely another level when it comes to the high-speed championship. So I'm excited to see when Yuna's going to get that title shot.
Yeah, I think that's something that, again, you spoke about Tom Bain on himself. The transformation of Yuna Mizumori and following her on social media is such a wholesome experience because the difference in her, the work that she has put in to build muscle, to become leaner is absolutely tremendous. She seems so happy in herself. And also, more than that, for someone who wrestled so well in the 5-star Grand Prix to end on 0 points, I feel this is well earned by Yuna. And I think it's an opportunity given to her for all the hard work she is clearly putting in over the last couple of years. In fact, if we're to look at her overall stats, if you will, she was one of the wrestlers that wrestled the most matches in the entire company last year. I believe, in fact, I've got it in front of me now. So 2023, Yuna Mizumori wrestled 118 matches, and she's already wrestled 83 this year. She has been one of the constants in Stardom over the last couple of years. In fact, there was only Mirai and Julia and Amisori who wrestled more matches last year in Stardom. So do you know what? Props to Yuna Mizumori. She thoroughly deserves this opportunity. And do you know what? I don't think she wins, but I do think she is more than capable of adapting to that style. We've seen how Xena adapted to that style. You know, Xena, who we didn't necessarily think would be an automatic fit in that division, yet had an absolutely fantastic match with Mei Seira. Yuna Mizumori is going to do the exact same thing. I have absolute faith. And also, she's in the ring with Mei Seira, who's absolutely tremendous. One of the best in ring in Stardom. Whenever this match is, it's going to be fantastic, man.
Yeah, so you're saying if my math is correct, that Yuna in the last year and 10 months has had over 200 matches in Stardom?
Oh God, you've put me on the spot now because I can't count.
I
Yes.
think you said 100 and some and 80 some. So yeah, so I mean that just goes to show you why she's improved so much in the last year and a half to 2 years, because she's getting the reps in. She's in the Stardom ring with the best, in my opinion, the best roster in all of wrestling, and the fact that I don't think if she's wrestling that much, she probably really hasn't been injured. So that goes to, and again, knock on wood, that goes to show you how tough she is and how durable she is, considering you're wrestling that Stardom style. You know, you're in the ring with the Sherrys, you're in the ring with the Izumis, the Momo Watanabes. They're really hard-hitting wrestlers. And we made mention it again when we talked about the Goddess of Stardom tournament last year of how many injuries poor Stardom had in 2023. So now that goes to show you, just she's putting the pedal to the metal, but she's really durable and really reliable. So ultimately, I thought this was a fun match. We didn't know which way it was going to go, but I'm glad that Yuna got the win. I had a really, really big smile on my face when she got the win here. I had this at 3.25 stars, and yeah, I'm super stoked for her to get that big match against Mei Seira. Hopefully it's at a Korakuen show or something like that, where they put it on like the semi-main event, or like we saw with Mei Seira and Xena, the main event, and then you're getting the proper spotlight on one Yuna Mizumori, because she has certainly earned that right, good sir.
Oh, God, yes. Absolutely. I thought she was tremendous. And it could have gone to anyone in this five-way, to be perfectly honest. But again, like you, when it was Yuna, it was like, do you know what? She has bloody deserved that. In fact, no, because you always say on this podcast, Matt, you don't deserve it, you earn it. And I think if anyone has earned it on this roster, Yuna Mizumori has earned this opportunity. Future of Stardom Championship match then. Rina's reign has been transformative for the Future of Stardom Championship. I don't feel like that's hyperbole to say. 12 successful title defenses, 512 days since she took the belt from Amisori. I don't think we are likely to see a run like this with the Future of Stardom Championship again. And I think before we begin praising Miyu Amasaki for what is an absolutely fantastic match here with Rina, one of my favorite Future of Stardom matches in truth, I think we need to praise Rina's run, because there's not a bad match of these 12 that she's had, 14 if you count Miyu Amasaki and Amisori. And I think this match as well plays on something that we don't talk about in terms of long title runs very often, and that is the cumulative damage that you are dealing with. And the heavy tape around Rina's neck, it turns out, is like a red rag to a bull for Miyu. And for someone whose entire offense is based around DDTs, I feel like this was the perfect ending. And ultimately, Rina has held this belt for well over a year, has defended it 12 times. She's going to be banged up. And I think eventually that coming home to roost, and that being the reason that eventually she just can't do it anymore, was a really, really good story to tell in a really, really, really good match, Matt.
Yeah, Rob, I always say that when you end one of these long, epic runs, when it's time for that wrestler to then pass the torch, i.e. the belt, to the next person, you need to have an epic match. And we've seen it so much in Stardom. You look at Io's big run, end it with that great match with Mayu. You look at Utami's year-plus run, end it with that great match with Sherry. You look at Sherry's year run, end it with that great match with Julia. Kamatani, her white belt run, end it with that great match with Mina Shirakawa. This is in the same vein, right? I'm not saying that match is as good or better than those matches I made mention, because those are some of the best matches in wrestling in the last 10 11 years, but this match was terrific. I totally agree. This and probably Hanan versus Tomoka Inaba, when they went to the 15-minute time limit draw in Korakuen Hall during Hanan's run 2 years ago, probably my two favorite Future of Stardom Championship matches of all time. This was terrific, and I always say you want to end a match on your big high note. Sometimes you'll see somebody hit a big move and like, okay, that's the finish, and then they'll kick out and they'll keep going, and then they'll lose the crowd. I thought that was going to happen in this match because this match was terrific with them going back and forth with the jackknife pins and the hydrangea and the hydrangea bomb. But eventually it's Miyu Amasaki. She hits a top rope DDT and a hammerlock DDT for a 2 count. So they have the crowd at a fever pitch. She hits the Tenzai, and I'm like, that's the finish of the match. And Tom and Walker did a great job building up to that point on commentary. I'm like, this is the highest point of the match. This is where you need to end it. And then Rina kicks out. I'm like, oh no, where are they going? Because now I'm thinking that, are they risking losing the crowd by continuing to go? But much to my surprise and in a good way, they actually got the crowd at a higher pitch for a Future of Stardom championship match. The way this match was wrestled, you thought this was for like the Wonder of Stardom championship because of the quality of these two wrestlers and the performance they put on. So I was like, where are they going from here? Then I thought, well, if Rina's kicking out, maybe Rina is retaining. So then they're just going back and forth. Rina gets the jackknife pin for a 2 count. She hits a hydrangea bomb for 2 count. At this point, now the time is ticking down. We're at about a minute or two away from the time limit. And I was like, oh no, now is this for something where we might be going to a time limit draw? And now not only is Miyu battling Rina, she's battling the time because, again, Rina's the champion. Rina only needs to hit the time limit draw to have another successful title defense. Eventually, though, Miyu hits a huge DDT, and then she hits this high angle cradle DDT that puts that puts Rina right on the top of her head. I was like, oh boy, howdy. And again, the fact that Rina's neck was all taped up was a target, as you said, a bull that sees red, especially towards the end of this match where she hits that insane high angle cradle DDT and then quickly picks up Rina, hits her with the second Tenzai for the 3 count. Again, this is one of the best Future Stardom Championship matches I've ever seen. 4 1/4 stars, and what a great way to start the main part of this show. Not only crowning a new Future of Stardom champion, not only ending one of the most successful reigns as the Future of Stardom champion, that is Rina, but what a great performance put in between these two wrestlers. Again, 4 1/4 stars for me. A terrific match and a great moment too, partner, with after this match was over, all the members of Neo Genesis hugging the new champion. So not only do you have a great match, you're ending a great reign, but a really great moment with the new faction that everybody loves in Neo Genesis, having a nice moment with all them hugging. And I think Walker put it on commentary very well, saying this is the first main match of the show. When we see Neo Genesis hugging over a new champion, will they be hugging Suzuki at the end of this show, crowning a new red belt champion? I like how that little bit added towards the match we would see about 3 hours later in Tam and Suzu. But yeah, again, 4 1/4 stars. This was just chef's kiss. Just a phenomenal effort put by two great young wrestlers.
Moving on then to Saya Kamitani and Sayaka Kurora. Obviously, it's worth noting that Sayaka Kurora debuted against Saya Kamitani back in, I believe, December of 2023. She's mentioned about how much of an inspiration Saya Kamitani was to her. And this match is really interesting because it feels almost like Sayaka Kurora, as someone who is inspired by Saya Kamitani, is the one who has tasked herself with trying to bring her back to the light. Now, it almost feels throughout this match like Saya allows Kurora to get a lot of offense in. She has back-to-back spears, which Saya sells as though she's been hit by a boat. It feels like she's doing it to see what she can draw out of the rookie. Like, there's bits where Kurora's hitting him forearms and Saya just does not react. And it's only really when Sayaka Kurora hits a spear that Kamitani reacts angrily and then just plants her with a big pump kick and hits the Star Crusher. But it's really interesting to see where this story goes because this isn't over between them. And they made that very, very clear when Kurora's clinging to Saya's leg after the match. One last desperate bid to talk some sense into her, and rather than kicking her away, Saya bends down and whispers something into her ear. We know something's going down when people are whispering into other people's ears. But where that's going from now is going to be very, very interesting, Matt.
Yeah, again, another interesting story, and you're playing this out. Again, this started at Korakuen Hall about a week or so ago with Sayaka Kurora in that multi-person tag match, getting the upset win over Saya Kamitani. That then Korakuen Hall exploded. And even though Sayaka Kurora ate the L here, I think she got over more in this match than she did in Korakuen Hall, because Saya Kamatani, again, somebody at the top of the card, she was bumping around in this match like this was 2022, and it's one of those big Wonder of Stardom championship defenses that she had, whether it was like Starlight Kid or Mirai or Mike or Himmick. I mean, she was bumping all over the place for Saya Kamatani. And folks, that's what a really great heel does. You know, you look at what Ric Flair was able to do in the early 80s as NWA World Champion when he was going to the different territories. Didn't matter if it was a big main event star like Dusty Rhodes or one of the Von Erichs, you know, one of those big territories in Texas or in Florida, or if it was one of the smaller territories like in Arkansas. He was bumping all over the place for these wrestlers to make them look really, really good and make them look credible. And ultimately what that does, it just helps the wrestling business out. The fact that what Ric Flair was able to do and what Saya Kamatani was able to do here, again, she's bumping all over the place for Saka Karar, just making her look like $1 million, making her look like a potential main eventer in Stardom, which again, that's what a great heel does. And Saya Kamatani played her role terrific here. Ultimately, though, yes, it is Saya Kamatani that does get the win. She's able to endure just the load of spears and those missile drop kicks that Saya Kamatani was eating. Not only was Sakura throwing them, but again, go back and watch them. Saya Kamatani was bumping so hard on them. You would think that she was trying to put herself through the ring. Again, that just goes to show you the great professional that Saya Kamatani is. And Karora absolutely brought herself up to that level. Big spotlight for her in a singles match with a main event wrestler on this show in front of almost 1,600 people. Ultimately, though, it is Kamatani that hits that big tornado kick and then the Star Crusher for the win. 3 3/4 stars, and you're absolutely right, partner. It's very interesting to see where they go with the storyline going forward, but I know that I'm intrigued, and so is a lot of other people.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I am intrigued. And again, you know, it's something that I love about the promotion at the moment is that there are stories for people that there wouldn't necessarily be stories for. And this whole heel turn with Saya Kamatani, it does feel at the moment very multi-layered. And where this whispering might go nowhere, who knows? But at the moment, exactly right, Matt, I'm intrigued. Where is it going? Then we moved on to the 12-woman tag match. Look, it's a novelty, and I don't think it professes to be anything else. I mean, Don Matsumoto is 63 years of age, has had an astonishing 44-year career, which, as is pointed out by commentary, is over twice as long as Rian has even been alive. You know, she's over. She gets the biggest reaction when she comes out. And considering Queen of Villains is on Netflix, it's superb. And Don Matsumoto's life and incredible career need to be celebrated. However, the last time her and Zapp were in a Stardom ring culminated in one of the worst matches I've ever seen in a Stardom ring. And this wasn't much better. She's clearly struggling at 63 years of age, both to walk to the ring and then to get into the ring, which is completely unsurprising when you consider how long she's been wrestling and the torment that she's put her body through for our entertainment. And, you know, her offense is very much hitting everything that threatens to move with a kendo stick, including the cameraman and the ring announcer. And at one point, I thought was going to be Walker Stewart and Tom. Thankfully, that didn't happen, but this was what it was. Like, credit must go to EXV for at least trying to make it serviceable. But again, I'll quote the words of Walker Stewart. Of all the matches in Stardom, this is certainly one of them, Matt.
Yeah, we if you thought this was going to be, like I said, the Dragon Gate 6-man that they used to have back at the Super Card of Honor shows, like you're just out of your mind. And we made mention like there's other people in this match to cover for Dump Matsumoto. But she came out, yeah, she got a great reaction, and she's swinging the kendo stick at fans. Obviously, she's not going to hit them. It looks like she's going to, and it reminded me of the Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody days in the All Japan and the late '80s, where the fans loved it. Like they were just running for their lives, and it was just like, and obviously. At 2024, we can't be doing that. But Dump Matsumoto really pushed the boundaries, and everybody was absolutely loving it. Again, akin to Brody and Hansen, back some 35 years earlier. And then she comes with a kendo stick. She almost hits poor Tom and Walker. Thank God that she didn't. But she got a great reaction. And then when she goes to the ring, Zapp had a roller in the ring. I'm like, oh boy, we know where this is going to go. But again, look at the other members in the match. You had Konami, you had Ruaka, Tora, obviously Momo Watanabe on the other side. You had Maika, Mina, Hanako, Xena. I mean, you had a lot of talent to build around it. And again, the match is getting going. And I was like, I don't think this was advertised as no DQ. And I didn't expect like the hot tag from Dump Matsumoto or anything like that. But she's standing in the ring. She never gets out. She has a segment with Mina Shirakawa. And about 3 or 4 minutes in, Walker Stewart says, yes, this is no DQ. I'm like, oh, okay. And obviously I'm going to be critical because you know how I'm a stickler for the rules. But at the same time, I understand, right? I'm like, okay, I'm glad he said that. And I think you texted me a few hours after the show was over because I watched it live. You didn't. And I said, hey, just to let you know that Dump Matsumoto match is no DQ. So if you're like me the first 2 or 3 minutes, like yelling at not yelling, but like thinking, how come we're not following rules here? And then Walker says, oh, by the way, this is no DQ. I'm like, oh. So, yeah, it was what it was. At the same time, it's like, again, they drew almost 1,600 people to Dump Matsumoto sell some tickets. It's a possibility that she did. I know you have Toni Storm in here. You had a great main event with Tam versus Suzu Suzuki. You had a lot of really interesting middle card stories that they were doing here. Again, the Stardom roster is full of a lot of stars, not just the faction, but you know what I mean, partner, before you throw that joke out at me. So it's like, did Dump Matsumoto help draw some of these fans? It's a possibility. And again, this show is not going to be remembered for this match. It was fun while I was there. She got a great reaction. I understand she can barely move. And I made mention of this on Mary Gold. You just made mention we did the Mary Gold standard, and you just made mention ago about 2 minutes ago. Why is Dump Matsumoto is her knees and her back like that? Because back in the 80s and 90s, she abused her body for our entertainment, for our enjoyment, and matches we can go back and watch what a great pure heel she was back in her prime in the 80s and 90s. So the fact that she's back in here in Stardom, again, the biggest Joshi company in the world, one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world, if you're going by numbers and metrics, you can't deny that fact. And she's getting she's in front of the crowd and she's getting a payday. I'm all for it. Again, is she going to be beating Mayu for the championship? No. Is she going to be having great singles matches? No. Is I'm going to go back to the Goddess tournament. Her and Zap going to be in the Goddess tournament? God, I hope not. But again, this was, and they aligned these two with the right people, with Tora, with Momo, with Kunami. They were able to fill in the blanks when Dump Matsumoto wasn't there. Again, you had 10 people in this match, and this match went a little over 9 minutes. Not that big of a deal. I had no problem with it. I didn't know that Tora did do a promo saying at the end of October they are back in Korakuen Hall, and for Dump Matsumoto to rejoin them for one more time. If this Korakuen Hall show does 1,100, 1,200 people, you could say Dump Matsumoto probably drawing some tickets. And here's something else I'm going to throw out at you, Mr. Rob Goodwin. Maybe I'm throwing some fantasy booking here because this is nostalgia, right? And I'm a big fan of nostalgia. Again, I grew up in the 80s. WWF was king. Anytime on Monday Night Raw, there's like a Ted DiBiase or a Hulk Hogan or God rest his soul, back when Piper would come on, I would be so thrilled. I would text my friends that I've had for 30, 35 years and my dad saying, guess who's going to be on Raw? I like that nostalgia. Again, it's not the main part of the show, but I like that nostalgia. If we're going with a nostalgic act here in a heel way with Dump Matsumoto, which we did here, and we are going Korakuen Hall, would it be the worst thing in the world if her foil is one of the Crush Gals, or if it's Aja Kong? Again, you're not having a 5-star match, but again, we're going for nostalgia. If we're going for it on the heel end, why not bring in one of the Crush Gals? Why not bring in Aja Kong? Why not bring in Bull Nakano? I'm just saying, Rob, it's there. The seeds are there. These doors for Stardom have been wide open for talent, past, present, and future, from all over the world to come in. I'm all for that, buddy.
It's an interesting thought. I know that Chigusa Nagayo has appeared in Stardom. I think it was only in a Battle Royal, but there's still appearances there. Obviously, Aja Kong made her first appearance back in June or July. I can't remember.
No, Aja Kong was All-Star Grand Queendom, which is back in April.
Ah, there you go. I knew she'd appeared. So there is the option there. Again, I want that to be as many women padding that match out as is humanly possible. But again, we'll see. Dump is almost guaranteed to be appearing at this Korakuen show. What they do with her, I don't know. Whether she becomes sort of a satellite member of Hate, I don't know. But again, this is not the match that you've purchase this show to watch from an in-ring standpoint, certainly. And again, I am just going to reiterate, credit where credit's due for the likes of Maika, for the likes of Mina Shirakawa, for the likes of Waka Tsukiyama, who did sell and bump and take an ungodly amount of kendo stick shots. So fair play to them for, as I mentioned before, at least trying to make it serviceable. We did not have that issue, Matt, with the next match. Goodness.
I knew this was an easy segue for you, brother. Go ahead.
Goodness gracious me, this match is violent. And I mentioned it before. I had no idea the level of animosity between Hazuki and Starlight Kid until the press conference. But even if I hadn't watched that, the pair do a brutally phenomenal job of expressing that during what feels like a very real fight. And that's the thing as well. This is a fight. At no point does this feel like a beautifully choreographed, emotion-filled drama we'd usually expect from these two. And instead, there's palpable venom dripping from every strike, every stomp, every condescending call for the other person to bring more. And not only does the fact that this has been labelled an unofficial number one contendership match for the World Wonder of Stardom Championship not feel important in this match, but the winner doesn't necessarily feel that important either. Because such is the ferocity that these pair fight with, that Hazuki then starts targeting Starlight Kid's mask and is then reveling in the boos raining down from the crowd. Like, this has gone beyond winning. This has gone beyond the Y belt. This is pure, unadulterated hatred. And that is what makes this match so damn compelling. I mean, eventually Kid does win with the Momo latch. And I think a surprise roll-up is absolutely the only way to end this furious battle. And then post-match, just a red mist descends for Hazuki. She's shoving off Koguma as Koguma tries to calm her down. She hits a brain buster, steals Starlight Kid's mask after bringing in a pair of scissors. And I did think very, very briefly, oh my God, it's going to go full Aja Kong and Bull Nakano. She's just going to start stabbing her in the arm with a pair of scissors. Thank God we didn't get that. But it adds an all new layer to this already invigorating story about Hazuki. She knows something needs to change to be in with a shout of finally winning this white belt that has become like a damn albatross around her neck. And maybe incorporating the shades of grey, willing to do whatever it takes mantra that she learned during her time in a Wedatai might be the perfect way to go. I'm not necessarily saying turn heel. However, bringing an edge to it and bringing an edge to Stars might be the way to record a little more success. Overall, this is a sensational match and one that you must absolutely seek out from this show, Matt.
A lot of great ebbs and flows in this match where they started out violent and then Starlight Kid realized she couldn't go violence for violence with Hazuki. She activates Hazuki mode a few different times in a time we've never really even seen before. I mean, Hazuki goes full Hazuki mode on a lot of these forearms. Starlight Kid then realizes she needs to switch up her game plan and go to that high speed, high impact style of offense, which I like. Then Hazuki's just had enough of Starlight Kid. We see the boot scrapes and we see her act very much like in 2018, 2019, going almost like full Oedo Tai, like cheering in the boos, like soaking in the boos, like even asking for the fans to boo her, which again, Hazuki's been one of the most over wrestlers in Stardom, you know, with the likes of Mayu and Tam and Maika, as far as a pure babyface goes in the last 2 years. So it's like she starts getting booed and then she really gets dominant on Starlight Kid. Then she goes to the top rope for that bombs away senton and then she has the crowd cheering her again. I'm like, okay, maybe she's not going full heel. Maybe it was just that part of the story. Ultimately, though, Hazuki just basically runs through Starlight Kid. Starlight Kid ever so durable. We kind of figured Starlight Kid needed the win here because it looked like we're building up to a Starlight Kid versus Natsupoi Wonder of Stardom championship match. And as soon as the finish was getting ready to happen, I'm like, this is the perfect finish at the perfect time. Hazuki goes for that brutal brain buster. Starlight Kid slips out. She goes off the ropes, and I'm like, the perfect time to finish this match with the perfect move would be the Momo latch. And they literally ended it at the perfect time. I mean, this got over 19 minutes, a lot of time to tell their story. Starlight Kid getting almost like, yeah, a surprise win on Hazuki, but Hazuki, quote unquote, gets her heat back, beating up Starlight Kid afterwards, hitting the brainbuster and taking the mask off. So, and then leaving with the mask. So it's very interesting what they're doing because nobody wanted Hazuki to join Hate, but it looks like she almost turned heel without even joining Hate. I don't know. Again, she was soaking in the booze. So it's going to be really, again, this is something really interesting with these shows this weekend. How is Hazuki going to be, how is the crowd going to react to her? Are they going to boo her? Because she's in that faction that's got Mayu, Momokogo, Kagama, Han, and, the lovable, pure baby faces that are stars. And she's coming out very much like a heel. Now, granted, we'll talk about it in a little bit. She was very much baby face in the corner, cheering on, rallying Mayu on in that big co-main event match against Toni Storm. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Hazuki. I really like the story. There's a lot. I have this at 4.25 stars. I know these two have a 4.5 to a 5-star match in them. This wasn't the place for it. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing these two wrestlers wrestle and feud for that Wonder of Stardom Championship in 2025. And we're going to see a series of matches that we're going to say those are some of the best Wonder of Stardom Championship matches we've ever seen, which is saying a lot considering how great the catalog is of the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Yeah, great match, 4.25 stars, great angle afterwards, and interesting to see where they go because you have a lot of babyface sympathy on Starlight Kid and a lot of heat on Hazuki. And we're all fans of Hazuki. We call her the people's champ on this show for a reason because we all love her and sympathize with her that we want her to win that Wonder of Stardom Championship. And maybe she needs to go to this ultra-violent side, not deathmatch ultra-violent, but this violent side of her to be able to kick in another gear in Hazuki mode to finally capture that Wonder of Stardom Championship. I fully expect for this story to end with Hazuki finally winning that Wonder of Stardom Championship, probably against Natsupoi, and then maybe somewhere, maybe in 10, 12 months from now, Starlight Kid be the one to end the reign of Hazuki as the Wonder of Stardom champion. Or maybe Starlight Kid takes it off Natsupoi and then Hazuki takes it off Starlight Kid. But the way that this is going, and maybe this is just wishful thinking for me, I think that we're going to have like a 3-way feud for that Wonder of Stardom Championship with Natsupoi, Hazuki, and Starlight Kid. And partner, I am all for that. But yeah, great match, great story, and a lot more questions than answers, which is what you want in a big singles match coming off a big pay-per-view like this, because there's a lot more to the story with Hazuki and Starlight Kid. And brother, I am all for it.
Couldn't agree more, my friend. Couldn't agree more. And I don't think Hazuki does need to turn heel. I don't think Hazuki needs to turn and join Hate. I think having this edge, this extra gear, this will do anything mentality is enough. Like, it doesn't have to just be white meat babyface in Stars. And I think that's, she was saying how good is it to hear Stars booed. We've seen Mayu not necessarily be heel, but certainly be arrogant and certainly be dismissive and, it almost cost her. So there have been times when Stars have done that. So I don't think a turn to Hate is necessary to keep this storyline from bubbling along quite nicely. We'd certainly need a palate cleanser after this match. And as I mentioned before, I don't think a company does multi-women tags like Stardom does. And this 4-way was another brilliant example of that, Matt. And we spoke about high-stakes singles match for Hanan against Toni Storm. It looks like we are rekindling that feud with Mei Seira and getting a singles rivalry, which I am very, very excited for.
Yeah, I'm all for it, my friend. There was some really, really good stuff in this match. And considering the fact that you're coming off this great match with this great storyline, you're like, okay, we have this 8-person, are these this 4-way with these this 4-way tag with these 8 great wrestlers. And this one just hit on every single level because you're trying to catch your breath after that angle. And then you know what's coming up with those last 3 matches, big championship matches. So you're like, okay, this was kind of put everybody on the card, but nobody got the memo. I think these wrestlers were like, hey, let's go and steal the show. And for an underneath tag match, this was absolutely fantastic. A blitzing pace between all these 8 wrestlers. Yeah, Zumi, Mei Seira, great stuff. Hanan and Saya Ida as Wingori look terrific as a team. Lady C and Shuri as well with Soriano and Aya Sakura. Everybody gelled well. Everything was perfect perfectly timed. Everybody looked great. You're absolutely right. It looks like we're going back to that Mesa versus Hanan feud that we kind of tease and go back and forth time and time again. We've never gotten that big singles match. Again, maybe that's somewhere at the end of the year, well, where we are at the end of the year, beginning of next year, somewhere where we go all in for. But regardless, this was a terrific match. I had it at 4.25 stars. And partner, I didn't write down the time. What was the time of this match?
Just 1 second. Let me go back to the top of my notes. It is 9 minutes and something. 9 minutes and 55.
Yeah, this one under 10 minutes. I mean, this was absolute blitzing pace. And again, Azumi and Mei Seira in these matches, it's crazy because there's 8 other wrestlers in this match and their timing and ring positioning is absolutely perfect. I mean, these two wrestlers are on a completely different level when it comes to that high speed style, not only on what they do, but where they do it and the fact that they're not mixing anything up in the ring. Nothing's mistimed. Everything, when these two wrestlers wrestle at this high pace and high speed, especially when they're as a team together, nothing can be off even a half an inch or a half a second. Like the degree of difficulty that these two wrestlers wrestle at is unbelievable, and they're absolutely perfect as a team together. It was nice seeing Shuri get a win on a pay-per-view here, because it feels like that we need to start building Shuri up to something big, because again, everybody on this roster has something to do, and we're kind of waiting for that Shuri and Konami thing to kind of really start to heat back up, because I don't think for how much they've really put into that rivalry, they've kind of cooled it off over the last month or two. So Shuri getting a win here was nice. I would like to see Shuri and Konami start to build their program back up, because I'm all for that slice of violence. Again, 4.25 stars for me. This was fantastic. And again, considering the fact of how fast everybody was going, the ring positioning was just absolutely perfect with all 8 of these wrestlers.
Move on then to the Wonder of Stardom Championship match. Now, as soon as Clark Connors ran through Natsupoi with a spear at Korakuen Hall, I knew I had to temper my expectations for the fair wrestling match I'd let myself believe we might be getting. And though I was certainly right to curb my excitement, there's still a kernel of a great match in here. And at its core, it's a simple story of one of the most endearing babyfaces in Stardom overcoming insurmountable odds, Matt, but the match suffers so much from an impossibly high amount of interference, doesn't it?
Yeah, not only that, but the heat was too long. This match was too long. I understand what they were going for. And again, Rob, you've been watching Stardom full time since 2019, me since 2021. And in that time, we've been able to go through the back catalog of just the fantastic Wonder of Stardom championship matches. So I think just really, really good, really great matches here where they try to do something different, right? Where it's like, okay, let's do a long heat to see when Natsupoi does her insane comeback, which was great at the end, just to see the reaction that it gets. And I think this was the show to take that gamble on, right? Because if it doesn't hit, which it really didn't, you have those back-to-back Mayu versus Toni match, and then you have the Suzu versus Tam match that could ultimately bring this card back up. And I think that's exactly where it did. Take a gamble. You never know what's going to. What if during that heat they were really on tackle? They're really on hate, booing. And then when Natsupoi made the comeback, it was the giant pop. I understand what they were going for here, and I appreciate that. However, it didn't hit. I think if they would have taken maybe 4 or 5 minutes out of this match, probably mostly in the heat, and put this match in Korakuen Hall, it would have got more of a reaction. Korakuen Hall is more of your yay for the big baby faces, boo the big heels. I just don't think that this venue was for it. And the fact that we had such a long heat, so much interference. I do like how once the event interference got ramped up, we did see the Cosmic Angels member come in to kind of fort off hate. And once it started, I'm like, well, Tam's not going to help out because Tam's in the main event. Soriano just wrestled, so she's not there. Well, Soriano comes in halfway through the match. And we've always said during these hate matches or Wedo time matches, when there's all this interference, where are the other members of the faction? That's the one thing I liked about this match, is once that interference really got ramped up, you saw Soriano directing traffic with Yuna, with Aya, with Sayaka, to hold off the other members of hate. So I like that part. I liked how the match built around the Ferial gift. Like the one time Natsupoi misses, the second time she goes for one on the outside, she really misses there. We get the interference there back and forth. It was, again, a lot of interference. The heat was way, way, way too long. They tried something different. In my opinion, they missed the mark. And again, sometimes you have to try something. You never know what's going to hit. This one didn't. And the long, great catalog of Wonder of Stardom championship matches, especially the ones that we got starting from Io's reign back in 2017 until present day. I mean, we've had some unbelievable World of Stardom championship matches the last 6 years. This definitely wasn't one of them. This is one of the lower rated ones that I've rated in quite some time. This didn't even break the 4-star mark for me. 3 3/4 stars. And I think the only reason why I rated it that high is because of Natsupoi when her comeback came at the end, especially where it looked like Tekla was going to hit her with that spike brace thing, that whatever she had, just that spin kick, the Fatal Gift, and then she had the twisting Fatal Gift, which we never seen her do before, was a thing of beauty. Was the only thing that kind of saved this for this match. Again, I appreciate what they were going for. Didn't work for me, brother and sisters, but I appreciate the effort. Again, 3 3/4 stars for me.
Yeah, look, it's a good illustration of the power of grief. Like, Tekla does a great job of showcasing the pain she feels about Natsupoi leaving Donna Del Mondo back in 2022. And it points at her wanting to hurt Natsupoi more than she's actually bothered about winning the match or the white belt. And I think that's a story that's told relatively well throughout this. But like you mentioned, it's far too long. The interferences, it gets ridiculous, but coupled with that, and this is the real bugbear for me, and I know that it's something that you really get annoyed about as well, is the fact that we as the audience need to suspend our disbelief about how Daichi repeatedly misses these blatant weapon shots. Like, yes, there is some distraction from hate on the outside, but not for every single one. The baseball bat, the repeated attempt to use the spiked gauntlets, the belt, the crate, the title belt, any number of things, and that took me out of it as well. However, Natsupoi coming out stoically to a video of her own betrayal and then Connor's aforementioned spear, that is the perfect way to show how hurt she was. On a very basic level, the good versus evil storyline works, but the additional extras that are piled on top of this means we witness a serviceable white melt match rather than the excellent one these two would certainly put on without all the added interference. Moving on then to Mayu versus Toni Storm. I don't think enough is said about Toni Storm's singles record in Stardom. 53 matches. Before this one, Matt, 53 matches, singles matches in Stardom, 5 losses.
Wow.
That is a better win percentage than Mayu, than Kairi, than Nanae, than Io Shirai, Maika, Julia. It is one of the best singles win percentages out there. So that is a big thing to talk about. On top of that, the video package for this match that focuses on, of course, the injury, which a good portion of this match is based on, and I really enjoyed, and the cover of Tokyo Sport also put that on the front as well, which I enjoyed, but also reminded everyone that Toni did actually beat Mayu clean after she returned from injury, which people seem to forget. Showcased how she did it with 2 back-to-back Storm Zeros, and highlights that Mayu, up until this show, had never beaten Toni Storm in singles action. 4 matches, 3 losses, 1 draw. And I think that set up this match that could potentially be seen as just based around Mayu's injury. Set it up really, really well, Matt.
Yeah, this was a great match as far as bell-to-bell in-ring action. This might be Toni Storm's best match. Not only timeless Toni Storm, but Toni Storm, in general, which we kind of had an idea was going to, because Toni Storm's great. The timeless character is terrific. Again, the promos, she's a great, great wrestler, and she's in the ring with maybe the best wrestler in the world, regardless of gender, and one Mayu Iwatani on the run of her life. And this was built up great. Again, kudos to Toni Storm going over to Stardom a week and a half earlier than we expected her to do matches to build up, to do press conferences to build this up. Again, more than likely, she was probably in the Stardom dojo working some stuff out with Mayu to make sure that this match was going to be very rememberable. And damn howdy, it sure was. This had everything. He started off with the code of honor, the handshake, which I'm always a big fan of. Basically, this match is being centered around a who is better. Who is better? We know that Toni has been able to get the better of Mayu in their previous matches, but these two have not had a match in 5 years, as you mentioned, partner. We get great chain wrestling to start. You know this match is going to be going into somewhere around the 20-minute mark, and that's where you want to go. You basically are building this match up and down, ebbs and flows. Some really great stuff back and forth between these two. Interesting stuff just with Toni Storm being able to overpower Mayu using the striking, the super kicks, the crucifix bomb, the Dodon Pie to try to start building her offense back. Mayu doing a great job selling for Toni Storm, making Toni just look even more dangerous than she already is, which I thought was great. I like how, as this match is building towards the end, Mayu is starting to get the advantage. She goes for that reverse springboard poison Rana, but Toni stops it. So now you're thinking, okay, like they teased it. Are they going to be able to bring it back? Because Mayu's got a great amount of offense. We've seen with the Dragon Suplex, the two-step Dragon, the moonsault, but that reverse poison Rana is a move that she can only do on a handful of wrestlers because it's really hard to do. And you as a base, you have to know how to take it. So I was like, maybe they're teasing it. I don't think Toni Storm is going to be able to take that move because it's a very intricate move. Momo Watanabe, Utami, those wrestlers are great at taking it. So I'm like, maybe it's just something that they tease that they won't go back to, but they built it up perfectly. And then again, Toni Storm, yes, absolutely. She hits the Storm Zero for the 1 count, which I thought was great. And I love the fact that when Toni Storm, she hits the first Storm Zero, she can't follow up. She's selling because Mayu's hit the super kick. She hit the Dodon Pie. She hit the German suplex, where Toni Storm is able to hit that quick headbutt and the Storm Zero, but can't follow up. Eventually, though, she hits the Storm Zero. That only scores her 1 count, which again, I don't mind that because it's the adrenaline. It's you're fighting for a championship. You're fighting to see who's better, who's the top dog for that belt, which I like that surge of adrenaline. Easy for me to say. Really cool stuff there. Eventually, though, Toni Storm hits the 3 Storm Zeros back to back. And yes, she defeated Mayu back in 2017. She actually defeated Yoko Bito in the middle of Korakuen Hall to win the 5-star Grand Prix back in 2017 with the 3 hanging on. And when she hit all 3, I was like, oh, they're going to put the belt on Toni Storm. Because like, what a great way to end the match. And I got sucked in. Mayu kicks out. Mayu eventually hits the super kick. And then she hits that reverse poison Rana, which I didn't think she was going to hit. But Mayu quickly, and I love this. I'm a big fan of covers, of really great covers. Mayu not only hooks the far leg, but when she covers Toni Storm, she puts all of her body weight onto Toni's neck, which is genius because she just hit the super kick, which affects the neck, and she hits that reverse poison Rana, which affects the neck. So unlike Toni Storm, who was not able to follow up on that first Storm Zero, Mayu's able to suck it up, hit those 2 moves back to back that went to Toni's neck, and is able to get the cover, and the cover presses on Toni's neck to get the 3 count. Another brilliant match for Mayu Iwatani, not only this year, but in her legendary career. Toni Storm, in my opinion, this is the best match she's ever had, and she's had a lot of really great matches. 4 3/4 stars for me, my friend. Terrific match. And then I love the post-match promo where they embrace, and basically Mayu leaves the door open for Toni Storm to come back to Stardom at any time, which again, hopefully, fingers crossed, we do see her in Ryugoku at the end of the year, Dream Kingdom. Again, brother, a great match, 4 3/4 stars.
And then the main event, as I mentioned before, a match a year in the making. And Tam Nakano defeats Suzu Suzuki, shade over 20 minutes with the Twilight Dream. And we talked about the aggression and the violence in the Hazuki and Starlight Kid match. And Suzu Suzuki apparently decided that, right, I am going to attempt to kick Tam's head as far back into the Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium as I possibly can. There was a rage bottled up inside Suzu from this match a year ago being cancelled. Obviously, with that, she then had to go into a vacant championship match with Maika, effectively wasting her shot, and then lost that match. So there's a lot of pent-up resentment to resentment?
Resentment?
Yeah, I was trying to make pent and resentment into one way. It doesn't work. But there's clearly a lot that Suzu feels towards Tam, and I actually think it's this pent-up resentment for Tam. that causes her to make the mistakes that let Tam in to finally win the match. Because there's large portions of this where Suzu is so overbearingly violent. You know, the Dolphin Buster through the table, the repeated kicks to the head, the really brutish knee strikes that she hits. She hits the tequila shot. She hits the locomotion German suplexes. You know, she catches the Violet shooting on the ramp as well and floors Tam after that. It does feel almost like it's Suzu's match to lose. And maybe she just goes too far in trying to prove something to Tam. And Tam eventually walks away the victor. Not before she makes the most gifable face of all time with that sticking out of the tongue, which I thought was fantastic. But apart from that, a fantastic main event match, Matt.
Yeah, Tam Road Part 2 is off to just an amazing start. She had, you know, in my opinion, one of the best matches of the year with Micah last month, and this one was just a shade below it. I mean, the violence in this match, and right, again, the way that this built up in the tag matches leading up the last 2 or 3 weeks, like we knew it was going to be violent because they set the table, and this was it. Yeah, you're right. Suzu Suzuki was tremendous here, and I know I had a bunch of people tweeting me and messaging me saying Suzu needed this match because of like just she's had an off year. And I don't agree with the fact she's had an off year. Like, I know she's dealing with injury and her neck and shoulder was taped up, but like her tag matches with May Sarah, especially with Aphrodite and FWC, were amazing. She had a really good run in the 5-star Grand Prix. You know, that second match with Hanan, the match she had with Saya Kamatani, the match with Risa Sarah and Korakuen Hall were really, really good. So it's like, I don't agree with the handful of people that said, you know, she needed this match. Like, you always need to have a great match. But yeah, she over-delivered in this match. She had an absolute barn burner, considering the fact it looked like she was going into this match less than 100% because she was taped up pretty good. But boy, howdy, you wouldn't know it. You know, you're right. The Dolphin Buster through the table, they kind of went, Tam Road walked down the King's Road a little bit here, buddy, because they're doing the German suplexes and the Tiger suplex and the neck bumps off the top rope and just the Tiger suplexes and the German suplexes and the Twilight Dream and the violent screwdriver. There was a lot of head drops in this match, and it needed to go that route, and they told that story beautifully. You know, this wasn't just head dumps for the sake of head dumps. They built this match up before, knowing it's going to be violent, and the way this built up in the ring was pro wrestling at its finest. Again, Tam has had a catalog of great matches over these last 3 or 4 years, but this back-to-back Micah versus Suzu might be some of her best work ever. And again, kudos to obviously Suzu and Micah because those two are on a completely different level as well. Rob, I kind of just want to get your opinion on something that happened in the match. And I'm going to say what it is. I'm going to give my opinion. I'm going to throw it back to you. The table shot to Tam's head, right? I know there was a lot of discourse about that online, right? You had the Dolphin Buster through the table. And there's 3 points to that I'm going to make, and I want to throw it back to you. I got to give Suzu Suzuki a lot of credit because she improvised here at this spot. And I've been put through many tables in my day. Sometimes those tables don't break clean. Like once it breaks, it's over. But that table broke clean, and Suzu picked up a clean part of the table where there was nothing sticking out. There was no wood sticking out. It was a smooth part of the table. And I'll give credit to Suzu for improvising, knowing this match was going to get a whole nother level of violent. And then she added in a layer of violence with that table shot. Now that's the one good thing. I would like give Suzu credit for improvising, taking that clean piece of table and then using it to add to what was already a violent match, and even got more violent with the top rope Tiger suplexes and German suplexes. Now, the thing that I can kind of take or leave is like this table shot happened right in front of Daichi, right? So it should be a disqualification. At the same time, you're having a violent match here. It's your main event for the most important belt in all of wrestling, the World of Stardom Championship. Daichi calls for the bell. Where does that heat go? It doesn't really go on Suzu. It's going to go to Daichi. Not only that, but like, do you have Azumi then distract the referee so they can get that shot in? So I know I had some people that, you know, I'm obviously a stickler for the rules, and some of our fan base they're a stickler for the rules too. We're like, come on, Matt, it happened in front of the referee. It's like, I get it, but it's a big main event match that was kind of called on the fly. You're going to let the rules bend a little bit, right? And then the one thing, and then the bad. So I'm kind of going the good, the okay, and then the bad is, again, it's an unprotected shot with a foreign object to the head of Tam. I understand it's a broken piece of table, which there is a little bit of give, but at the same time, again, you're improvising on that spot there. At the same time, it's a weapon to the head, what we know about CT over the last 10 or 15 years, that I didn't care for. But again, I will give credit to Suzu on the fly, using that spot to make that match even more violent. So I just kind of just wanted to just throw it at you what you thought of that spot that they did.
Yeah, I'm especially knowing what we know now, I'm never going to be okay with chair shots to the head, knowing the damage that they do. There's certainly an argument that obviously wrestling tables are gimmicked tables, and therefore there is going to be more give in that, and there's certainly going to be more give in a piece of gimmicked table than there is with a steel chair. But that's, from a personal standpoint, I don't think the match needed it, to be perfectly honest. You just put Tam through a table with a dolphin buster off the apron. You know, it was a fairly violent moment. Did it add anything really to the match? No, because I think the main violence came from that rapidly intense closing sequence. Obviously, you know, that's the argument, isn't it? About the referee. It's what we were talking about with the Wonder of Stardom Championship match. You run the risk of, you know, the suspension of disbelief taking people out of it. Now, you can argue that it was one shot, so I'm not necessarily as bothered about that in regards to, you know, one shot compared to the 25 in the Tekla Natsupoi match. Again, I don't think it particularly needed to happen. I think the match would have been absolutely fine, exactly the same as it was without that shot. But again, you know, credit where credit's due. The match flowed very, very well, even taking that shot to the head out of it. But yeah, overall, I thought this was I just piggybacking on something else you said actually about the red belt and Tam's second run with the belt. Her match that she won the belt with was a good match, a really, really good match with Micah, and then she's put on a really good match with Suzu here. Obviously, we are on the road now to Dream Queendom. That seems to be the next big show. Is that where Tam has her next title defense? And obviously, there was no title challenger coming to the ring following this. It was just Tam closing out the show. Who do you think is going to be the next challenger for that red belt, Matt? And do you think it happens at Dream Queendom, or do you think there's a show in the intermediary where we can have a red belt shot?
Again, it's just a small possibility you do it at Historic Crossover. But yeah, you have again, what we talked about 2 hours earlier with the Natsupoi, Clark Connors, Tekla. I think Tam's going to want to be in that match. I think it's going to be Kamitani. I think, again, you're loading up Dream Queendom. You're going back to Ryogoku. We saw them. They had 2 great matches in that building for the Wonder of Stardom Championship back at the end of 2021 at Dream Queendom 1, and then back at World Climax Night 2. Same building. Why not do it a third time, this time with Tam going in, this time in the main event for that belt. And again, you can put on the fact that Saya Kamitani was injured in that match with Tam at the night 1 of the 2023 5-star Grand Prix. You know, Saya being the heel, she can use that where it's, hey, you know, I lost time and didn't win this tournament, didn't have a chance to win this tournament because of you. That's the way to go about it, partner. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can go. I know a Tam and Mayu match they have in their back pocket. Maybe that's somewhere down the line. Tam called out Mercedes Moné on an interview this past week, and we know that Mercedes wants to go back to Japan. You know, she wants to wrestle Tam, so that's a possibility. You know, maybe that's something for the Tokyo Dome as well, or maybe it's something for next year. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, Rob. Before I throw it back to you, I had this one at 4 3/4 stars. What was your star rating for Toni and Mayu and Suzu and Tam? I had them both at 4 3/4 stars, but I like Tam and Suzu a little bit better. That was my favorite match of the show.
Yeah, Mayu and Toni had at 4 1/4, and then this main event had at 4 1/2. Both really, really good matches and a great way to close this pay-per-view out. And then, of course, you add in the Starlight Kid and Hazuki match. That was great. You'd got a really good Future of Stardom championship match. The 4-way tag was a really, for lack of a better word, a surprise package on this show, because I thought that was great as well. So there's a lot of really, really good things to take from this show. Matt, before we sign off from today, and because I haven't forgotten, I think that's really important for me, I think it's time for Io and Kai rewatch.
Rob Goodwin, you're on a roll, brother. You are on a roll. Obviously, we did not do Io and Kyrie watch last week because we recorded early. Basically, the last 2 weeks on Monday Night Raw, really not much going on with our beloved Io and Kyrie. Just some vignettes and some video packages hyping up Io and Kyrie getting ready to take on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. And that'll actually be happening next week. So Io and Kyrie watch will have a little bit more. Now, even though Io and Kyrie were not on WWE Raw, they were on WWE Speed, both of them in the semifinals of this tournament. Let's go to that, shall we? Again, 3-minute time limits. We have Io versus Naomi. Really good high-speed offense to start. Io does that beautiful handspring evasion. Eventually, Naomi is able to slow down the former high-speed champion with an axe kick for a 2 count and a beautiful high cross body for a 2 count. Io gets the advantage with a springboard drop kick and the bullet train knees. Io goes to the top rope for the moonsault. Naomi's able to beat her down. She goes for the split-legged moonsault. She misses, and then Io finally hits the over the moonsault for the 3 count, thus putting one Io Shirai or Io Sky in the finals of this Speed tournament. Will be she taking on her partner in Kyrie or former foe and Candice LeRae? Let's find out. Candice and Kyrie, they start this speed match out with some fast 2 counts back and forth. Again, probably watching some Azumi high-speed matches. Kyrie's able to get the advantage with some brutal elbow smashes. Eventually, Candice retreats to the outside, but there's no safe place when you're in the ring with Kyrie. She does a running off the apron forearm smash to Candice LeRae, and then the Tokyo Slam onto the apron. She then throws Candice back into the ring. I'm sorry, they have an apron fight, which Candice gets the advantage of. Candice then hits a downward spiral, sending Kyrie face first onto the apron. Candice starts building up her offense, but quickly gets taken out with an interceptor spear from Kyrie. Kyrie then hits the sliding D. She goes for the insane elbow. However, Candice stops the insane elbow and is able to hit her lion salt for the 3 count, thus setting up Io versus Candice LeRae in the final of the Speed tournament.
There you go. Should be a very, very good match. And is that next week, you said?
Yes. There's a lot of you got Io in the finals of this tournament with Candice, which has gotten spoiled on Twitter because it's pre-taped, and then you have Io and Kyrie taking on Bianca, which I don't care. Obviously, I'm going to watch it. Candice is great and Io is great, and then you have Io and Kyrie challenging Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill for the tag titles. So a lot of even though it wasn't much on the show this week with Io and Kyrie watch, we're gonna have a big Io and Kyrie watch next week, brother.
It's Io and Kyrie Mania running wild. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. It does bring us to the end of this episode of the Stardom Cast. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed recording it. We'd love to know your thoughts on Nagoya Golden Fight and the Stardom Nighter in Korakuen. As well, in the meantime, thank you so much to everyone that supports this show. You guys are absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on the website as well, www.thestardomcast.com, for all of your news, show reports, and the stats going into Marigold and Stardom as well. Don't forget, if you want to get all of our episodes early and ad-free, as well as a whole host of bonus content, you can at patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. You can check us out on social media at the Stardom Cast. We are slowly, hopefully, going to transition away from Twitter to Threads, simply because Threads is a happier place, I think, more than anything. And then you can talk to me as well at Real Rob Goodwin. Matt Turner, where can they find you? And sign us off, good sir.
Yeah, real quick. We mentioned it yesterday on the Marigold Standard. I want to mention it again. Thoughts and prayers with everybody down south, especially in the Florida way, as not only are they dealing with another hurricane, but a few hours ago, it looks like there's a tornado coming up the coast as well. So, I mean, geez, it's just going bad from worse. But again, thoughts and prayers with everybody. Thoughts and prayers are with everybody down south in Florida, and please, be as safe as you possibly can. And we're thinking of you. We're thinking of you. Thoughts and prayers. But folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email, the email address is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. And folks, that's going to wrap it up for another episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you. Because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when all together, Everyone's different. Everyone's special.